folks, we are on the air. Everybody find their seat, please. All right. I am calling to order the regular open meeting of United Laguna Woods Mutual Board of Directors, a California nonprofit mutual benefit corporation. It's Tuesday, August 13th, 9:30, and we are in the boardroom of the Community Center. Our Pledge of Allegiance this morning will be led by Director Akrakar.
Anybody please stand for the flag? Repeat after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, let's see. Yes, our Globe reporter is back there, and of course we are being filmed. We are on Channel 6. So good morning to all of our residents out there in our TV land audience. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I move.
We got lots of moves, okay. All right, moved by Carl and seconded by Elsie. Are there any additions or corrections? Yes, Director Armendariz?
On page 2, item 8, B, that should be terminated in 2022 instead of 2021.
Microphone.
Thank you. On page 2, item 8B, the term ending should be 2022, not 2021. Three-year term.
Yeah, but he's
Do
taking
you mean
the
9B?
9B, and he's taking the place of somebody that had.
No, 8B.
I don't have an 8B.
8B.
It's 9B.
9B.
It's
that a new
9B.
9B.
Okay. I got the old one. You got a new one?
No, it's, you've got your sticker over it.
Oh, I'm sorry. 9B. All right.
All right,
9B, that should be 2022. Sorry.
22, yes, it's a three-year term. Well, that's not right. It is
No.
21 because it is filling in the rest of Director Bellner's term,
Okay.
and that was up in 2021. It's not a new three-year term.
Not a new term, okay.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the agenda, please vote on your little screens. We'll make sure everybody's working this morning.
It's not working.
We can.
It's
We
not
have
working.
this screen, but we don't have the vote screen. Nothing we can push our button on. There we go. Thank you. Okay, no stylus on that one, so you'll have to just put your finger on.
Okay, got it. Got it. Yeah.
Thank you. We're still trying to get a stylus for Director Bastani. All right, agenda item number 5, approval of meeting minutes. We have 3. We had an all boards meeting on July 8th. We had our regular open session on July 9th, and we had a special budget meeting on July 11th. I would like a motion to approve all 3 as a group. Maggie, any second?
I move that we approve all 3, July 8th, July 9th, and July 11th.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Manuel. All right. Do I have any objections? If not, it passes without objection. All right, report of the chair. We have a couple of things this morning. First and foremost, I would like to ask Tim Boy, our Director of Security, to give us an update on the disaster preparedness. He gave us a report last month, and we need a little update here.
Well, good morning, Madam President. Can you hear me okay?
I don't think.
No, it's not.
Testing. There we go. All right. Good morning, Madam President, honorable board members. I did report last month on some of the response after the July 4th and July 5th earthquakes up in Ridgequest, a 6.4 and a 7.1. And obviously we could feel it 200 miles south of the actual epicenter. And that was a wake-up call for our residents. And we covered a little, or a few of the things that we do as part of security, that windshield check, monitoring, dispatch, what have you. But I want to talk just briefly, once again, about what our residents should be doing. And the first is that phrase, the first 72 is up to you. Don't depend upon those first responders. We hope that they're here, certainly. But if they're not, we need to make sure that each of us are capable of sustaining ourselves inside our manor for up to 72 hours. You know, when the second one hit, at 7.1, I felt it. And I got to tell you, I did the standard response with drop, cover, and hold on. I actually got underneath my table and put my hand over my head, covered my vitals, and held on to the leg of the table. But we had a very interesting discussion at our last disaster preparedness task force, in that what if some of our seniors are unable to get down on their hands and knees? Right, and we've got a few here. Obviously, President Skillman being one of them. You know, the reason why you drop down on your hands and knees is if you're standing, there's a chance you may fall and become injured. So if you can get down, we want you to. But if you cannot, we want you to first make sure that there's a safe place for you to either sit, preferably not stand. But if that might be a bed, it may be a chair, it may be your wheelchair, it may be in your walker. A safe place, I'm just looking around the room, a safe place is a place where you can sit up against a wall where something is not going to fall on you, whether it be a bookshelf, windows that could potentially break, a picture frame. And actually, I'm looking behind Director Morrison. That would be a safe place in that left corner there, in that area where something is not going to fall on top of you. And again, the goal is to, if you are in that wheelchair or that walker, put the brakes on and cover those vital organs. Cover, first of all, your head and your neck, if possible, and you wait it out. If you are in a bed and you don't move very quickly, stay in bed and cover your head and your neck, and if necessary, use a pillow. We did some checks. We weren't sure initially. You know, we pushed that so hard with that drop, cover, and hold on that sometimes our seniors and those who cannot do so are unsure what they can do, and that is your answer. We went to the County of Orange emergency manager, reached out to them, and then, of course, this is a standardized response to that. I just want to cover a few other things because we've got a lot going on in disaster preparedness, a lot of activities. If you don't know who your Good Neighbor Captain is, you may not have one. So I'd like to encourage you all to get involved. And the role of a captain is more of an awareness of what's going on in your community, but also reaching out and caring for your neighbors in the event of a major earthquake. You're going to check on your neighbors and then just forward that information up to a clubhouse. It's not that difficult. We're not asking you to learn CPR. We're not asking you to give first aid. We would love that, of course, but that is not mandatory. So just to go over a few things, directors that are coming up, we have a Good Neighbor Captain Appreciation Barbecue coming up at the end of a month. We appreciate the work of our Good Neighbor Captains. We want to recognize them for their work. We're going to have some hamburgers, some beer brats. We're going to have a great time. This is a great time to get involved. An Earthquake Expo. This will be coming out probably this week. Look out for this flyer. And this is an incredible event. We're going to have an earthquake simulator at Clubhouse 3, where it's a trailer where you actually can get in and sit down and it simulates an 8.0 earthquake. We've got a speaker coming from USC. I just want to speak briefly about this individual. Mark Benthian is the Director for Communication, Education, and Outreach for Southern California Earthquake Center at the University of Southern California. Mark is also Executive Director of Earthquake Country Alliance, which organizes the annual Great California Shakeout. So we've got some events taking place to make our residents aware and prepared. Now, if you haven't gotten your kit, we've got a disaster preparedness store. We want to encourage you all to go in the store, take a look, potentially pick up some items. Again, we want to make sure that we're prepared, that you are ready in case you have to sustain yourself for up to 72 hours.
Okay.
President?
Thank you
anything
so
else?
much.
Very good. Thank you.
We are so fortunate to have such an active disaster preparedness task force and Chief Moy, who can really help us to know that we are safe and what to do in case of different emergencies. So I felt that was important. And since I was one of those people who if I get down on the floor, I don't get back up again. I thought, what else can I do? And I thought that was, for a lot of us, a good thing to talk about. Secondly, as we saw in the minutes that we just approved, there were 2 budget meetings in July 8th and July 11th, to get our budget ready to go. And then we had on our televised meeting, and we will be voting on this, yes or no, up and down, at our September meeting. But to give you just an update about what happened at those budget meetings, if by any chance you weren't watching the one last Friday, which was our version 2, and it's not the final, but it's pretty close, I've asked our treasurer to do just a really quick update on the 2020 budget. Gary?
Thank you. First, I want to thank staff and our managers, our CEO and COO for all the time they've put into this, because it's quite an exercise to put all of this together. We're going to go through the business plan summary. The proposed budget for the 2020 plan year shows a sum of $42,243,564 that is required by the corporation to meet the United Laguna Woods Mutual operating expenses and reserve contributions for 2020. In addition, the sum of $15,599,739 is required by the corporation to meet the Golden Rain Foundation Trust operating expenses and reserve contributions. Therefore, we have a total of $57,843,303 that is required to be collected and paid by members of the corporation in monthly assessments. That equates to a total basic assessment of $603.04 per manor per month, reflecting a net increase of $24.52, or an increase of 4.2% compared to the current year. Some of the things that were addressed, we got into copper pipe remediation of $250,000, and that's epoxy lining of the supply lines. And as you all are aware, our buildings are 50 years old now, and the copper is starting to deteriorate, and we're starting to have some leakage, which requires, it's going to require a great sum of money to get that taken care of. We have $425,000 allocated to the Pushmatic electric panels. So there's an estimated 275 panels that are going to be replaced by year end. We have asphalt, paving, parkway, concrete, and seal coat programs of approximately $572,000. We have roof replacements of $753,000. That will be covering 47,734 square feet. We have waistline remediation of 2.1 million, and as most of you are aware, we're having a lot of sewer backups and have had a lot of sewer backups, which has cost the United residents a great sum of money for cleanup. So we're trying to get that backed off. We have prior to paint, exterior paint and dry rot repair programs of 2.81 million. And then we have some Shepherd's Crook installation. And we are going to be adding 9, almost 10 people to staff this year. And that's in various areas, which I'll go through right now. Our non-work center, which is comprised of our property tax, utilities, legal fees, interest earnings, and miscellaneous revenue, the net cost of the work center budgets is $15,034,000, of which $44,265,223 is included in the non-work center operating assessment, and $11,111,994 is included in property and sales tax operating. And $343,209 is credited to reserves for net interest income. The proposed increased basic assessment is $323,957 due to an increase in utilities, workers' comp, and bad debt expenses. Water rates are going to be increasing, and we just have some rough estimates of that, but they could be up to 6%. Property and sales tax increased by $1,301,215 due to an increase in property values. Office of the CEO, they are adding one person, and that is going to, the budget increased the assessment by $78,536 with an additional position for a marketing content editor. The variance was furthered by outside services due to an added annual expense of an inspector of election, website maintenance, and outsourcing of graphic design.
Excuse me, Gary. May I ask the other directors not to be talking while another one is? The whispering is really distracting. Thank you.
Thank you. Department of Resident Services. We're going down one person in this area, and this is mainly due to an increase in allocation expenses. A correction of resident services allocations assign more cost to the mutual based on services provided, so a higher budget of materials for the purchase of security access cards and so forth is going to reduce that staffing level. Department of General Services, going down 1.5 people. And that's mainly due to janitorial. So we're going to be losing someone in cleaning the common areas. Department of Landscape Services, we are going up 6.73 equivalents. And this is because our crews, more is being required of our crews, and the use of fertilizers and switching of fertilizer, irrigation of the lawns, and shrub maintenance. And we had a lot of people that were coming in complaining about landscaping, so more people were hired to take care of that differential. Department of Information Services, there's a net cost of 0, so there's nothing here. Financial Services, we're adding one person for insurance, for financials, and to oversee general ledger collections and payroll. And so that is what is those, well, there's some more here. Department of Security Services, we have 1.5 people approximately coming in. 1 security officer, we have a half a person for social services. For Department of Human Resource Services, that's staying the same. We're going up 1 person in maintenance and construction, and which deals with alterations, permits, moisture intrusion, facilities management, and construction and project management. Our reserve funds, the contribution is proposed to increase from $148 to $152.02 per manor per month, based on reserves funding plan recommended by the contracted reserve specialist funding future expenditures. So that reserve study came up showing that we were underfunded by $4,000 approximately per manor. So we've increased a little bit in that area to try to catch up in that area, because we are at the low median area when it comes to, you're either poor, medium, or good, and we're at the low end of medium. Contingency fund, we're dropping from $15 to $10 per manor to help offset the increased operating costs. GRF had an increase of $2.77, or about a 1.4% increase, to cover unexpected operating expenditures and specifically the VMS legal fees. I'd like to say that my concerns are the infrastructure and basically anything dealing with water, and that's why we're seeing a lot of these increases. That our supply lines, sewage lines, I think they have to be taken care of, or we're going to have some real major problems. We're also, our foundations are starting to have problems because we don't have adequate drainage when it rains. And I sat this spring and watched the water pour off the roof and down it next to the foundation. And so this has to be taken care of also. We have electrical transformers that need to be upgraded. We're finding that we're at a point where we really can't increase our electrical output to handle like instant hot water, that kind of thing for a whole building. It will not work. So we've got electrical problems. I also wanted to address the United Lenders, which has seemed to, I keep reading in the newspaper. We deal with National Co-op Bank because they have a recognition agreement with us that states that any person that they are lending money to and go into default, they pick up that expense each month so that we're not eating that expense month to month. And that's called a recognition agreement. Now, we've had some banks approach us, but they don't want to sign that recognition agreement. And if you're going to be competitive, then they need to be signing that agreement and then maybe attacking the percentage charged for lending services. That's all I have.
Thank you. The budget meeting of August 9th, which was our version 2, was televised, and it is replayed on Village Television a couple of times. I know it was on Sunday. I'm sorry I didn't copy down when the next time was going to be, but you can find it on your schedule. And if you haven't watched it and you're interested in more detail on the numbers, because we go over every little thing, please feel free to watch that. But you have the basic idea right now from Gary. Thank you. The last thing I wanted to cover in my report of the chair is, for those of you who watched the GRF meeting last Tuesday, you saw President Beth Parrott gave a wonderful report at the beginning in her chair report, which I just want to touch on. There's been a lot of discussion, a lot of finger pointing, even letters to the editor about secret meetings that are going on between the presidents, the vice presidents of the various associations here in the village. There is no secret meetings. We have a discussion group that meets once a month, president and vice president of each of the associations, where we share. There are no actions taken, there are no rules done, we do not have an agenda, and there are no minutes taken. It is strictly a discussion group. We feel that we are, yes, really devoted to United. That's our first thing. But we live in a community. We pay GRF dues. We work side by side with Third Mutual. It really behooves us to know what's going on in the other associations. What are their problems? What are they looking at doing? It's just a sharing. And so I want to, it's not illegal. We have gone to council on this. It is not improper. It is completely all right. And so I would particularly like to respond to our councilwoman who put a letter to the editor accusing us of doing illegal things. We are not. Okay, we will go to the next item, which is 7, which is our open forum. Now, I remind you that these are remarks from our members on items that are not on the agenda. If it is something that is an agenda item, you will be given a chance to speak at that time. Please fill out a pink card and give it to Daniel so that we can call you up by name, because that way it's much, much more efficient. And you have 3 minutes, and we will not make any
Directors cannot speak.
we will not address your comments until the very end when everybody has a chance to speak. All right, who's our first speaker, Daniel?
Our first speaker is Cy Overman.
Good morning. I'm here today to get some kind of update.
Can I get your manor number, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, 946A. And that building is directly parallel to the maintenance trail for the carts. And I spoke a couple of months ago about this. We have a real problem with the dust, and it's just like a southwest sandstorm now. It's 30 feet high of dust. And I have been told that we're going to redo that road or that trail, and was hoping my neighbors tasked me with finding out some more information when that might be occurring. I think it's been outsourced to a company. The second issue, again, was the same thing I talked about last time, was the security. We really have a problem in that little corner there, where the cart trail is and the back of the new shopping center. I suggested maybe we start a bougainvillea hedge or something. That's kind of a nice way to go. Somehow, I don't know which department, but they brought 4 bougainvilleas there, which is very nice in the corner, but I think we could use about 24 and just go all the way down that whole path. Another thing I did observe was the shepherd's hooks. We have just the conventional, I don't know what the dimensions are, but they're about 2 feet high or 30 inches maybe. I noticed behind the church, or maybe it's a synagogue, I don't know, but back in their parking lot that butts up to our wall, they have some that are maybe 5 feet high, very, very large ones. I'm wondering if we could get some of that size across this area and repurpose the existing ones. I'm sure you're going to use this stuff all over the place as this barbed wire goes away. That would be effective, though. I watched the transient a couple of weeks ago. They basically shinny up a tree that's on their side, or our side even, if they can grab a branch, and then just catapult over. So let's get those bars high back there. It's just a different shopping center since this new stuff is going on. There's a lot going on there. But that's the only two things I can think of that might address that. And back to the other thing with our dust issue on that, it might be a good idea to have 5-mile-an-hour speed limits from Avenida Carmel to the, I guess, the tunnel where they go under Moulton. Because these young men, they just press that pedal as fast as it'll go. And you know, they're going about 17, 18 miles an hour, and it just, you know, so that might help too if we could slow them down just for about 50 or 60 yards. I know they want to go fast, and you see them zipping all over the place, but that's just one little area where it might help. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. All right, next.
Next is Mark Luftig.
Good morning. Mark Luftig, 2121C. I am here to complain about noise in my manor. I have two noises. One is a noise from somebody running their water constantly, especially at night. Another one is somebody flushing their toilet. I don't want to hear when other people in my building flush their toilets. And I've been trying, that's been going on for 3 years, running water for 10 months. I've dealt with every single department in this building, and no one wants to help me. I finally wrote a letter to the president of the board, and about a week later, I heard from compliance. They'll come out and take a look at it. I said, I can't control when people turn their water on or flush their toilet. Are you going to arrange to get into the other manors? And they said, no, we're just going to come and listen. They came, they heard no noise, they closed the case. Because of that, I can't get any help. I wrote a letter to Cash, and he invited me to come to the Members Advisory Committee meeting, where I told my story to a few members of the board and a resident services supervisor. She said she would help me. Well, all she did is call compliance, and they said it was nothing. So she dropped it. But she was willing to investigate the toilet noise. But only the one manor above me, nobody else in the building. And that woman told her to call her daughter, and the daughter either didn't return the phone calls or refused to allow them to come and investigate. The noises from the running water is so loud, I hear it over my television. And when the television's not on, it's very annoying. And the toilet water wakes me up every morning at 6:30 in the morning, and I don't need to be up at 6:30 in the morning. And it's very frustrating that nobody from this building will help. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Daniel?
Next is Carlos Sosa.
Good morning, all. I'm Carlos Sosa. I live in 379 N Avenida Castilla. And the reason that I'm here is because of my next door neighbor on Unit Q. I'm gonna try to go faster as much as I can. But for the last 2 years or so, a young couple in their 20s, they were living in this unit. Mid-February this year, the nightmare started. Out of the blue, this lady, Tamara, pop up and throw away all over the stairs and the building their belongings of this young couple. From that moment on, this lady started yelling and using F words all night long. We have called several times to security at that point that nowadays they don't even pay attention to my phone calls. And it's not only me, but also the lady who lives beneath her. We have called 911, and the sheriffs, they have come, they have talked to her, but nothing happened. The main reason that I'm here is because sadly on March 26, I was trying to move to another unit, which is I live in a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, and I was trying to move to a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. And the seller accepted my offer. I opened up escrow on March 26. Of course, I put a deposit, and the deadline to close escrow was May 15th. Needless to say, I was only able to do one open house because all that trash all over, I have multiple pictures all the trash that it goes, sometimes I'm not able to open my door. It goes all over, on the stairs, all the way to the parking lot. The parking lot is full of trash. Every time that they put a warning, she just throw it to the trash, and the story continues. So I was not able to close escrow because nobody was interested in my place. At this point, I lose my deposit, I cancel escrow, and so forth. And the story continues. This woman continues screaming, using the bathroom beneath the bushes, and you have to see it. So we have signed up all these forms, several of neighbors, that you are going to get them on the mail. I have copies of that. You can get them as well. So my question would be, who's responsible of this? Who's going to be responsible of the money that I'm losing? Who's responsible of this psychological nightmare that when you move to this community, you are approved and you are looking forward to have a pleasant old years, but this is hell. So I believe it's all I want to tell you.
Thank you very much. You can give those forms to to Daniel, if you would.
I will.
Next.
Next is Chris Collins.
Good morning, Chris.
Good morning. Chris Collins, 3306Q, and I'm here to give you another update on the foundation of Laguna Woods Village, which we do our work in assisting residents who are experiencing temporary financial crisis. I want to make a declaration. The foundation of Laguna Woods Village is not GRF. Sometimes residents confuse the foundation with GRF, which is, the Golden Rain Foundation, but they are two distinct, different organizations. The foundation is the village's very own charity, and it's not part of the village's governing bodies. The foundation is a not-for-profit organization known as a 501c3. It's registered in the state of California, and unlike GRF, the foundation receives no funds from your homeowner assessments, and its sole source of funding is from voluntary contributions. The foundation was formed 22 years ago, and its mission is to provide support services to residents of Laguna Woods who are in need. It is dedicated to helping residents maintain their quality of life by providing temporary emergency assistance. The foundation's mission is summed up by our motto, which is neighbors helping neighbors. Recently, the foundation, we've been able to expand our motto and by addressing a very significant health challenge, which of course happens here in the village, which is falls. Here's a fact: 1 in 2 ambulance calls to Memorial Care Saddleback Medical Center involving the village residents during the past 5 months are the result of a fall. So falls are the key cause of fatal injury and most common cause of hospital admissions for senior citizens. As a result, while continuing to provide the temporary financial assistance to needy residents, we are now funding a fall prevention project which will help all residents, and it's not based on financial need. The foundation will be partnering with Social Services Department and Memorial Care Saddleback Medical Center to implement this program in the village beginning in August this month. The pilot project will include 4 class series, and each series is comprised of 8 progressive classes and focusing on different aspects of fall prevention. It includes things like the topic of sit-to-stand instruction, dynamic standing exercises, and fall and recovery. So for more information about this new program, please contact Social Services at 949-597-4267, or the Foundation at 949-268-2246, or the Foundation at comline.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris.
Next is Cynthia Rupert.
Good morning. I'm Cynthia Rupert, Manor 165A, and I'm here to talk about the handyman service, which I'm sure you've heard some about already. But I know that many, many residents were disappointed when it was not renewed, and we did understand that it was a pilot program, and most of us understood why it wasn't renewed due to financial insecurities with it. But there was some concern, and I've talked to many members about the way that the actual cancellation was handled. It was very abrupt. There was no warning. And it would have behooved the service to let people know in advance, maybe with an ad in the Globe or an article in the Globe, that it was not going to be renewed. There were many people that I have talked with that had projects in the works, and when it was canceled, they were left hanging. Simple things like hanging blinds. They would have one or two hung, and the rest of them, they have nowhere to turn to. So maybe it would have been a better way of canceling it, instead of abruptly just saying it's no longer, to let people know in advance that that's what was going to happen. I'm hoping, as are many, that there will be a continued handyman service at some point, maybe with a change in how it is financed, increase the fees, possibly increase the fees and charge a per visit fee, which would allow those that use it more to pay more and those that use it less to pay less. Make it more equitable so that people could use it as needed. So it's very simple. There are people here that need help. They're not able to take care of these simple tasks themselves. They need someone that they can call in to handle changing bulbs, hanging blinds, hanging curtains. And it's very expensive to go out of the community to do this. So the handyman service was a fantastic program, and we're all hoping that it will be renewed at some point. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Next is Maxine McIntosh.
Good morning, neighbors. First, I want to compliment the, as Director Morrison pointed out, all the infrastructure work going on. The SPT, I believe that stands for Specialized Pipe Technologists, who are doing the recoding of our sewer lines. Our building has just been finished. Ours had a big challenge. Ours is one of the oldest buildings, and the two huge trees had more time to really challenge them with plugged sewer lines. But they won, and they did a good job, and everything works so nicely now. They're very dedicated. I'm so happy that we're using them, and I understand that may give us 20 more years of life on the sewer lines. Another matter, I have great concern about the overspending of our money by the GRF board. The reason this is appropriate to bring now is you are the only people in all of United who get to vote for GRF board members. We have, nearly 9,000 people living in United, and unless they sit on this board, they don't have one vote for the GRF directors. For example, the nice little tennis clubhouse does not need a $150,000 renovation on our dime. With the community this old saying, let's provide this club with a beautiful renovation, is reckless spending. For years, GRF has received millions of dollars from the facilities fee, all new residents must pay at the close of escrow. Yet GRF has not made a significant cut in the assessment charges. We must all pay to them. When they cut, well, excuse me, I'm getting off point here. At last week's GRF board meeting, Mary Stone and I both spoke up, and I think Dick did as well, for conservative spending, but no United board member did. We need you to all speak up. Silence suggests approval. GRF is moving toward high-end spending of our money. Many residents are saying they feel some of you are trying to force them out. I hate hearing that. I haven't heard that in a long time. Members want you to always consider what is best for United, as our president said, first and foremost, not how nicely GRF is planning this or going to overspend on that. Attempting to turn out our nice community into a high-end resort is not good for United. Please publish a good survey. Find out how people feel. Find out what their attitudes are throughout all of United. And please focus on United, United, United when it comes to GRF high-end spending.
Thank you, Maxine. Daniel?
Next is Roberta Burke.
Roberta Burke, 933B. I'm not quite sure what meeting it was that I raised the subject, but Chief Moyes just reminded me of something that really preys upon my neighbors and myself, and that is that we live in a corner of the creek at the end of our property line. And if there really were a major incident, such as a fire from an earthquake or just a fire, we can't figure out how to get out of there unless you live on the second floor, because that becomes ground level. So I wonder if this board can check out with some department here, I don't know who, and let us know who we can call to come in and give us a little bit of advice. When you're down there and a fire runs up the creek or the surrounding bushes, you don't know what's up the steps, or the roof can collapse because it's a breezeway. And there's just like no place that we can figure out how to get out of there. So I really would appreciate if somebody would come back with that information. Thank you.
Okay, next is Andre Torng.
Andre Torn, 389Q. Just a quick one. Last night, somewhere around the 2:30, 2:45, the water stopped. And I called security, and security said there's some water work. And later on, I guess it started again, off again several times. I'm just wondering, what's the standard operating procedure for stopping water? Does anybody notify or telling the residents that it's stopping? There should be a standard procedure on that. So I'm wondering if there is a procedure, and if there is a procedure, why it's not followed. Thank you.
Next speaker is Richard Rader.
Good morning, Dick Rader, 270D. A new club called United Neighbors is formed in order to provide a meaningful venue for residents to become more familiar with board actions, to ask questions, to make suggestions, to increase transparency, and to work together to improve our community. The first meeting is Meet the United Candidates. This is your opportunity to hear what the candidates' plans are and for you to express your concerns and suggestions. The meeting will be on Wednesday, August 28th at 4 p.m. in Clubhouse 1, Main Lounge. All United residents are welcome to attend. On another subject, everyone is concerned about an increase in our assessments, myself included. At the last budget meeting, Director Almaderis made an interesting suggestion that for 2020, we take money out of...
Excuse me, please, no talking while someone else is.
At the last budget meeting, Director Almaderis made an interesting suggestion that for 2020, that we should take money out of reserve funds in order to reduce our overall monthly assessment. However, there's some legal issues which have to be considered. The law reads, and I quote, "Reserve funds cannot be spent for any purpose other than the maintenance and replacement of components for which the association is responsible. Thus, it is questionable if these funds can be used for any other purpose like lowering monthly assessments. The law also states, and I quote, "Funds transferred from the reserve account must be restored to the reserve account within 1 year." It would appear that the only way we can take money from the reserve funds to lower our assessment is to get the California legislature to change the laws.
Thank you, Dick.
Okay, our final speaker is Joe Fitzencam.
Good morning, Joe Fitzcam, 405D. I'm here today because I have never been here before. I've been to a few GRFs, but I haven't been here. I did want to mention something that happened at United and the roles as directors. I was involved a little bit in the pickleball paddle tennis situation, and this board did save this community about $2 million. There was a plan that would have went across the street, but it was very expensive. Would have lost the land. The land that had been there, they're going to tear it out and put another facility in there. So I do compliment the board and the directors that took a hard look at something GRF was doing and took it in a different direction. And that different direction satisfied all the sports involved. So, I mean, I do think you do watch out for our money. I've watched the meetings. I haven't came in and complained about anything. I heard something about water and roofs. Probably within a couple weeks of some rain shooting down the spout and out of the ground 3 feet in the air, they came out and they put a French drain in to solve that problem. And, you know, sometimes just leaves can cause a problem with roofs. I think it's important to fix. But I found maintenance in that case, or landscaping in that case, very, very responsive. But I appreciate what you do, and I do think you watch out. I do know a little bit about the tennis thing since I played a few hundred times. It's a pretty small clubhouse. There's 8 chairs in there. What they're doing is 2 projects, one on the outside and one's in the inside. The outside does have some dangers there in terms of some rocks that are there, so it's a bit of a safety issue. So it's probably, once you establish a safety issue and then you vote not against not fixing it, I don't think I want to be the lawyer in that case. But I do appreciate that you watch out for money. I did watch the budget meeting. I thought everybody's opinions were very thoughtful. It's very difficult to raise dues when you may see an effect on sales. You may see an effect on people who have low income. That's very difficult when you have a situation when somebody places flood and they lose half their stuff. So it's a difficult thing. You do $20 this way or that. I lived in a retirement home for 11 years in a facility in Texas with the Lennar had built. My property taxes in the state of Texas exceed our tire dues for all organizations and the taxes here alone, so we're pretty fortunate. There's also a mutual out in Rancho Mirage, California. It's quite small. It doesn't have near what we have, and their dues are about $800 a month. So I don't think it's a matter of being excessive. I think it's a matter of being cautious that we don't raise more than we have to in any 1 year. But again, when it comes to safety issues or issues of destruction of property, I think it is appropriate that we do raise dues. We have to, but only we have to. But I do appreciate it. I do watch the meetings. You do a good job, and thank you very much.
Thank you,
What is
Joe.
your Manor number?
405D.
Thank you.
You're not mad at me, are you? No.
No.
Okay, that was our last speaker. All right. Responses to the speaker, I'd like to start first of all with Cash. Would you like to respond to Cynthia on the handyman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will start from the top because I want to talk to more than just Cynthia. Mark Luftig, let me say I'm sorry that nothing was done, or not to your satisfaction. We will see that the case is open again. To Carlos, would you mind attending the Thursday meeting at 4 o'clock upstairs? Thursday. This Thursday. That's the advisory committee. That way we can officially get started and see what the problems are. Chris Collins, I always have nice words for you. You're doing an excellent job. Cynthia Rubert, handyman cancellation. Thank you for bringing it up. I had an open invitation as the leader of the task force, and I have about 15 or 20 emails so far, and more coming up. And every one I read through, and I will bring it to the next meeting. Of course, we don't want to crowd up too much. So we have 5 on the task force which are adequate at the present time to make right decisions. We are evaluating every possible angle. Maxine, thanks for the kudos. And maybe there's some truth in what you're saying. I got to look into it again for reckless spending GRF is doing. But it is time that we do upgrade our common facilities as well. So maybe I'm wrong. I will have to look up. Andre, it's torn. I don't know what you're talking about. In the middle of the night, the water stops. There must be, or there should be, some procedure. I will try to look into that. Dick Rader, I will definitely attend the Meet the Candidate meeting. And Joe Fitzsimmons, thank you for the kudos. We are here to representing you to keep our costs down. As most of us, or some of us anyway, I am one that is on fixed income. And every dollar I spend, I have to look 3 times before spending it. And I consider your dollars more valuable than my dollars because that is not my money and I have to manage it. So I do look into that as much. But we do have to raise occasionally the costs go up and dues have to go up because we do not have any other source of income right now. I may have missed somebody, but that's about all I have to say right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Cash. I'd also like to go to Jeff because I think some of these things are ones that our general manager needs to answer.
Thank you, Madam President. Just with regards to, the first question was regards to our maintenance on the trail. We have included that into our paving contract, and that work should be completed at the end of October, 1st of November. With regards to the security, we'll continue to work with our security director, Tim Moy. We'll take a look at the options that we can do with regards to whether it's Bougainvillea or what we can do those areas, and we'll evaluate the speed limit signs as suggested. Again, with regards to Mr. Luftig, we'll look at the compliance process and gear that up again. We've had that issue before, and we'll continue to take a look at it. With regards to Mr. Sosa, I would agree. We'll sit down with the information he has, and we'll get compliance involved with regards to that one.
They are involved.
Right. And so with regards to the question related to the water, the situation right now is that that is the El Toro Water District is retrofitting irrigation systems, and they indicated that they were going to have intermittent on-off with regards to the water from 8 a.m. to 4:30 in the afternoon. So given the fact that this was beyond those timeframes, we'll check in with El Toro Water District and find out what's going on. We did put an article in the blast with regards to the work they were proposed to do, but given that those timeframes were outside of that, we'll check with those. But we did know that that was happening, and we did put that in the blast. That's between August and August 5th, and I believe it's supposed to be completed by the end of September. So they're putting in their new system with regards to their retrofitting their irrigation system along gates 5 and 6. But we'll check in on see why it was beyond that time frame. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Any other director have a comment for our, yes, Sue?
I'm sorry that Si's left, but we did put in last time that there would not be a start until October or November, the work on the trail. The other thing is the crook is 5 years old, and it is an old type of crook. So we're looking at putting new in there, which is a much taller one. We have a contract going out soon for Shepherd's Crook, and we're still looking at that. And that one is 5 years old, and so it is a shorter set. So that situation should be taken care of.
Well, I'd like to comment on that. That's not in this year's budget. The Shepherd's Crook that we're putting in is on El Toro Road by Gate 1. And these are the ones over by the shopping center and the churches.
It was put in by Ernesto. there was an addition looking at that this year, but for next year, there is a look at it because it is a security problem. It has been brought up in the M&C
Oh,
meeting.
absolutely, been talked about, and Landscape is working on it too. All right, Carl, you had some comments?
Yeah, I'd like, one of the specific things that seemed very important, okay, which seemed to have gotten overlooked, is the fact that Roberta indicated that she felt that in her area she had some concerns about escaping should there be an earthquake or some sort of a fire condition. And I think maybe some sort of discussion with Chief Moy might be in order to determine that, because you did mention that. So that's if they feel unsafe during that time period, then obviously we need to address that. And I just would like to add something to what, because it comes out of the handyman program, comes out of the M&C committee. We are, and Cash indicated, we are looking at alternatives to the handyman program. We are definitely getting a concerted effort. We've already had a couple of meetings on it. There's been a lot of ideas as to how we can do it. It has to be neutral as far as no shared cost in this. And and we did mention at the last board meeting the reasons for why we canceled it. Yes, it was kind of abrupt, but we were also needing to make sure that it went through its one-year pilot, and the one-year pilot was over. So that was the story. Thanks.
All right, Director Armendariz is next, and then Gary.
Thank you, Juanita. I'd like to comment on two items, the handyman program and then Dick Rader's comments. Regarding the handyman program, last year it was done on a trial basis, and after that 1 year, we discovered that based on 72 hours of service, that's 6 hours per month, and a $200 fee, that we were incurring $120,000 a year expense, net expense. And that was because the cost of our handymen, we had two. We started with one, but we ended up with two. It was costing $200,000 a year, and yet we were only receiving $80,000. So that was a loss. And we have a lot of pressures right now for the assessments. So any future program has to reflect on the fact that our current handymen, their rate for all their expenses is $50 an hour. So that's what you'd have to face if we implemented any kind of a program, that it'd have to cover $50 per hour cost. As far as Dick Rader's comments, I need to add a couple of things. One is that over the last 3 years, we have spent $6 million less than what was budgeted. And so that resulted in $6 million being accumulated in reserves. And the problem with reserves is that you could never have enough. I'll admit that. The ideal would be to be 100% funded, but that would mean you'd have to raise the assessment sky high. And my suggestion was, and again, Dick needs to go back and read the City of Sterling Act, because my suggestion was that we lower the assessment amount. Because if you've collected those funds, they're sitting there reserves, that means you can use those for expenditures. And that means the amount coming in won't be as much as it would be. So my proposal was strictly within the law. The other thing that I wanted to mention was that when they approved the expenditure of $3.8 million for our solar panel project, which so far has not been very successful, that was taken out of contingency. That was a $3.9 million expenditure. And I went back and looked at those minutes, and in those minutes it contained the clause that said, we would want to return this, pay these funds back into the contingency fund. Well, the problem with that is there's only two sources for funds for the reserves. That's interest income on the investments, and the other is assessments. So if you already spent $3.9 million, why would you want your assessments to go up when perhaps you could probably have a better use for those funds yourself? So I think Dick needs to go back and do a little bit of research on what the law provides. Thank you.
Gary.
Yeah, I would like to address Mr. am against using up reserves, only for the reason what we just went through with a 7.2 earthquake, and which means we could have one much worse and have a lot of buildings come down, have roads crack, have just a lot of damage, which we are going to have to pay for out of our reserves. I am not for depleting our reserves. I wanted to thank Chris Collins. Also wanted Cy, oh, he left. Cy Overman, I talked to security about his problem, and so they're supposed to be addressing that. The handyman program, I totally agree with Director Armendariz, and he was right on. As far as GRF spending, and I'm going to take some responsibility for that $75,000 for the tennis building, which Carl did not.
I voted against
He voted against it. But I'm going to say the reason I did was because we put a lot of money into golf, we put a lot of money into lawn bowling, we put a lot of money into pickleball, and I didn't think that it was right to not put money into tennis. That's all I have.
Thank you. Andre?
And-
Can I speak as a director?
Thanks, Chairperson, to opportunity to speak. First, I would like to comment about Cynthia Rupert's handyman service. We all understand that handyman service is very valuable to us, and that's the direction we give to the VMS to make it happen. Unfortunately, the whole process wasn't executed correctly. For some reason, the model we try to cover from another retirement community, Leisure World, other places, they are very successful and we are not. So there's something wrong there. And as far as how to implement that, so we have already tasked VMS to look into that and find out what are the differences, why are things with such difference. We cannot even survive and they are very successful. So hopefully we will get some, and understand the cash is leading that kind of activity to look into that. So hopefully we'll get some good answer on that. Second comment is on GRF's high-end spending. Why is that? GRF GRF board directors are appointed by mutuals. Your residents don't have any say on that. We elect them, we appointed them. So it is our responsibility to hold them accountable if there's anything, and it's our responsibility to hold ourselves accountable for whatever decision we make. And that's, I believe that's what we need to do. There are people that saying GRF, that's a different mutual. Hello? Hello? GRF is different mutual, and we have no authority on that. I don't believe so, because we appointed them, we should be accountable for that, and also hold them accountable for that. Their actions. As far as Dick Rader talk about meeting the candidates, I'm going to run again this year, and I will definitely attend that. As far as the 2020 reduced reserve, it's very clear that $17 million current reserve versus 30% of $43 million current funding is only $13 million. So we have at least $4 million excess with our reserve. I'm not saying we use a reserve fund for operation fund or any other fund. What I'm saying, what I believe everybody's saying is that we need to reduce the reserve at this point, not consistently, but at this point, because we need money to do some operation issues, and that will help us resolve the immediate issues. And in the future, if we have excessive fund, we can put it back in there. So that's what we need to do. We adjust the whole fund rather than just one fund, focus on one fund at a time. Okay.
All right, your time is up.
Okay, just one point, okay. We talk about,
Your time is up.
Thank you.
You've
Okay, I'm not
spoken
allowed to
both as
talk
a
anymore.
member
Thank
and
you.
as a director.
but if,
Your time is up.
if anybody want to talk to me afterwards, I'll be
All right.
more than happy to answer.
All right. Any other director that would like to speak to member comments?
Certainly. As long as we're all speaking of all kinds of things, I'll just join in and throw all my sand around too, okay? You don't get return on solar very much the first year, okay? It is a long process. My brother's had solar for 15 or 20 years. They pay him. They buy electricity from him. And that's very nice. At the end of the year, they send him a check. And that's great. So solar does work. It will work for us. We can't expect everything to come up roses the first year. There are several things we can adjust and so on. As far as the shepherd's crooks, yes, they are the shorter ones. And we are discussing adding that area in for the taller ones. We haven't even got any in some areas. We're still removing the barbed wire. So it may be that the taller shepherd's crooks won't be first on the list for replacement, but rather the walls with barbed wire, which is now outlined by the city, will be first on the list. It's very expensive, but very effective. The taller ones are quite good. As to the noise of Mark Luftig, you might have them do a sound test in your unit and see. That might be something that you want to do. I suspect that your building is no longer soundproofed and never was any more than they were in the days which they were built. Your unit is a whole lot newer than mine, and mine doesn't have very much soundproofing left. So I do what I can when my neighbors get noisy. As far as having someone call me up at 2:30 in the morning when they're going to turn the water off, thanks, I don't want to be called. Okay. Let's see, for the reserves, I am a very cautious person. I save. I'm a very cautious person. I prefer to have the funds available when I believe I will need them. So that's that. As far as running for office, I'm running for office too. So just so you know. And as for the handyman, I loved the handyman program. I loved it, I loved it, I loved it. We will probably have to go to a pay-by-hour program. I hope it's less than $50, but $50 is still less than the $75 I was paying for my handyman before. So I see a little bright glimmer about that in the future. And I think that's enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, I don't see any other requests to speak. So we will go to 8, and Director Margolis, do you have a follow-up report from the July 9th meeting?
Thank you. Rebecca Berg of 933B would like to see the guarantor clause reinstated. It was discussed in Governing Doc's meeting and has been submitted for today's agenda, which we will vote on later in the morning. William Howard of 2047C brought to our attention that a tree was grossly overgrown, and he's asked to file a work order. The tree was trimmed a couple of weeks ago when the tree crew was in the area for urgent trimming. David Cohn was concerned with the water lines needing epoxy and wanted to know why it was not as high a priority as the waste line. Funds have been set aside for both lines to be coated, but our water lines are not in as bad shape as our sewers, so we're trying to do both in the order of highest priority. And we have very few water line leaks because we have better copper than third. 3 people spoke in favor of the handyman program, and everyone else feels the same way. Maxine McIntosh, Esther Wright, and Pat English all wanted to see it revived in a sustainable form. And of course, everybody's talked about, we're trying. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we come to almost the meat of our meeting right now. Number 9, we have an update from one of our VMS directors, Dick Rader, and then we are going to have a selection of our new director for VMS to take the place of Ron Bellner, who passed away. Dick?
Thank you. Before I begin this report, I hope everybody will stay around, because what you're going to see later on in the meeting, that the board will have to pass a supplemental appropriation of almost $1 million for water heater installation program. That money is in excess of what was budgeted, and that's why you need so-called excess monies in the reserve funds, because otherwise it would have to go to a special assessment. VMS report. Our community is exceptionally fortunate to employ senior staff with years of experience in managing various cities. This is important because we are equivalent to a city. The staff performs at the highest level to respond to the needs of our community, always mindful that costs are an issue. I know this because I am on the VMS board. The board consists of 9 volunteer appointees, 3 from United, 3 from Third, 3 from GRF. These VMS board members each have extensive business experience. We have a former chief financial officer of an international corporation, a former CEO of a group of hospitals, a human resources director from a large company, a realtor, business people who also care deeply about this community. However, some continue to complain that the VMS staff, and by implication the VMS board, are inept, that they are unable or unwilling to increase the efficiency of their operations or to find ways to save money. These claims are simply not true. Let's see what the facts are as they relate to United. At bi-monthly meetings, the VMS board spends hours with our CEO and COO, using all of our collective expertise to review what has been accomplished, as well as what areas still need more attention. As part of our business processes, the VMS board has established a strategic plan which is reviewed at regular intervals. It has 5 goals: provide exemplary customer service, facilitate efficient operations, provide for a safe community, provide transparent communications, and become an employer of choice. We want to attract and retain the best possible applicants. Based on these goals and efforts of our VMS staff, much has been accomplished. Here are some examples of cost savings. Damaged foundations can be expensive to repair. Thus, we're putting up more gutters and drain spouts to prevent water accumulation from undermining our building foundations. We're remediating dry rot to maintain the structural integrity of our homes. We're proactively epoxy lining our waste lines and copper pipes to reduce toilet and sink stoppages and water intrusions. I had it happen, and I'm going to tell you, it's expensive both for the residents and for management. We are proactively replacing our electrical panels, which are outdated. The contracted price for this project was very favorable. We are installing shepherd's crooks on United's perimeter walls to make our community safer. We do not want to see security costs increase because we have not taken steps to reduce the number of wall-hopping intruders. We're acquiring electric vehicles to reduce fuel costs and reduce our carbon footprint. Our information services manager helped our community save $2 million for our broadband services. If this had not occurred, United shareholders were paying at least $10 more in our monthly assessment. rather than continue to enumerate present cost-saving programs. Just know this: our VMS staff is actively seeking and developing new ways to save money. So anyone stating that VMS just spends money without concentrating on cost savings is misrepresenting the facts. Here are some examples of increased operational efficiencies. Training of staff is a continual program. The goal is to increase employee skills so they can become more proficient in their jobs. Resident services staff has been cross-trained so your questions or requests for service can more often be handled without having to transfer your call to other departments. We are replacing high water-using turf with water-efficient landscapes. We have created a more efficient system in our lobby, making it easier for residents to sign up for service requests. We have established and regularly review a variety of metrics to monitor those areas where operations may need improvement. Often hear that we don't have metrics. Here's an example of metrics. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but if you look at the column where it has red, and you compare it to the column on the right, as you go from 2018 to 2019, you will see that the red items indicate where there has been a slight increase all the way up to a fantastic increase in the number of services that are listed all the way on the left, the number of services where the services requests are being completed within 30 days. I believe that there are some problem areas, and that's why we have these metrics, because using these metrics, we're able to identify those areas where we need to improve. I believe that our CEO will go through this in more detail at some point, but I have to emphasize, we have metrics and we are constantly looking to improve. So contrary, excuse me. Oh, I should also mention that our CEO is also evaluating whether any requests for service are being lost in the system, so-called lost tickets. We do not believe this is a large problem, but even one lost ticket is unacceptable. We don't need to continue citing examples of approved operations. As you can already see, the record shows that contrary to what some are saying, VMS is actively pursuing ways to make our operations more efficient. I hope that I've made it abundantly clear that our VMS staff is devoted to meet our community's needs while doing so in the most cost-efficient manner possible. Of course, there is always room for improvement, and that is our never-ending task.
Thank you, Dick.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dick. Sorry, I didn't have my mic on. All right, we have two candidates who have put forth their applications to fill our third spot on VMS. And I'm going to call them up in alphabetical order, and they will give their candidate statement, tell us a little bit about themselves and what they're, and then we will vote by secret ballot for one of the two. And our first applicant is Dorothy Pasella. Yes, Sue?
Are we going to be able to ask questions of them?
I would say one question per person at the most. We could spend hours questioning them. So I would allow one question per person. All right.
Thank you, Madam President. My name is Dorothy Pacella, and I live at 65E. I'm interested in working with the VMS board. I moved to the village in 2017 with my husband, Carmen. I had spent over 40 years in the retail industry. in corporate management. My experience includes merchandising, operations, facilities, IT, finance, audit, legal, distribution, and logistics. The retail industry is known for its customer service. It is part of our core principles and our North Star. 25 of my years, I was with Bullock's Department Stores, which at the time was a division of Federated Department Stores and then became Macy's, and then also the Walt Disney Company with the Disney stores. So my DNA became woven in terms of the importance of customer service as well as guest service with the Walt Disney Company. But at a corporate level, we had to deliver our corporate objectives, and specifically delivering our expense controls and our budgets. It is normal to me because that's what I've done my whole life. During my first 2 years, I have had great interaction with the VMS team, and I can relate with the team because indeed they are the roles that I did, they are the roles that I managed, and I understand the challenges that are before them. I understand the importance of hiring the right people and training, professional development, and turnover. It is something I've done for 40 years, and I relate so with the team because indeed they are what I have done for so many years. My experience can add, though, another set of eyes to the great work that the VMS board is doing already and just bring another perspective. A lot of the work that I have done in my career has always been efficiencies and process improvement and business practices because that becomes what's important and that's how we get to where we need to go. But most importantly, I never sacrifice customer service because that is our reason for being, and that's why we are here. My retail roles also included listening skills because I often played in a cross-functional role, and you end up being a liaison because you have to work with all the different departments to make things work. So it's really an important part of what we do and the function of the VMS board. While I've lived here also, I've become very active with a lot of the clubs. So it's enabled me to look at the big picture of the community. I'm on the Chicago Club Board of Directors, the board as well as the Travel Committee, the Wine Lovers Club, the Comedy Club, the Foodies Club. And in addition, I'm a docent for the bus tours that we conduct on a monthly basis for our prospective buyers as well as our new residents. And lastly, I am a host of the Thrive Show on Channel 406. So we do monthly programs where we focus on the fun that we're having in the village and encourage our villagers to get out and enjoy the fun. We've been very fortunate to have that, and I really enjoy the opportunity to be able to share what we do in the community. As far as I'm concerned, it is the best place in the world to live. It is the best kept secret in Orange County, and I look forward to an opportunity to serving on the board and contributing in my special way. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorothy. All right, I'll go around. Manuel, did you have a question for Dorothy?
No, thank you.
Sue?
Dorothy, if you discovered that our VMS staff has a turnover rate of over 25%, what do you think we should do?
First thing we look at is the core principles of what has happened, look at it on a case-by-case basis. In some cases, you have a turnover because of tenure, perhaps skill sets that have not matched what the jobs now because a lot of what they're doing is improving efficiencies. So you have to begin to evaluate. What happens also with turnover, though, particularly, for example, a lot of the processes I've automated, which becomes a big deal. Part of what you do is you plan to have to move your staff around. And sometimes as a consumer, you may hear there's a hiring freeze. Well, in reality, what we do is we don't hire because when we begin to look at turnover, we want to be able to transfer people to other positions. So you go through these processes to make sure that you retain your people, but if not, then you understand the core reasons why they're leaving, and then really see if there's anything as management we can address.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Andre?
Yes, thank you very much for doing volunteer work. I see you have a lot of activities, village activities involved, so you know something about our community.
Yeah.
And my question is, what kind of improvements do you see that would be helpful to our community and make our residents' life better here?
I think in terms of having them have a better understanding of what the services that VMS is providing, what the boards are providing, I just think it's a lack of understanding. So almost just a checklist of like, this buys this does this, so you really understand. Because I think knowledge is so important, and I don't care how old you are. The challenge that we all face in the community, our residents are from age 55 to 105. Okay, that's a big swing. And so, and I applaud all of you, I applaud VMS, because in reality, that's the challenge that we face, is that our new residents, our younger residents are with it, they understand. But God bless some of our other senior folks that really don't get it. They just are frustrated. So I would hope to be able to address that as simple, keep it simple, so they can begin to understand some of these. And then along the way, if I can get them to come out to a club and have fun and really enjoy what they're doing, that would be the blessing of all. And so my efforts with the Thrive Show, that's our goal, is to get them to really realize what we're doing for them.
All right, thank you. Cash, do you have a question?
A simple thing. What is that one thing that you would contribute first? See, you're going in as a director.
Yes.
You're no longer a manager or
No.
hands-on person. You're an outsider.
Yes.
Looking in. So what is that one thing you would like to accomplish?
So Cash, I appreciate your question. And I'm very familiar with consultants. If any of you know the Walt Disney Company, they love consultants. And so as a result of that, I somewhat see this role in that area to be able to partner with, look at our budgets and our performance this year versus last year, where we're overspending, where we're not, and deal with those largest variances and get in right away. I don't have access to that information. But my favorite phrase is always low-hanging fruit, and go after those as fast as we possibly can.
Thank you. Reza, do you have a question?
Yes. Ms. Doherty, can you elaborate a little? How does the experience in retail industry relate to VMS activity, which is mostly in maintenance?
Good question. You know, in my experience with retail people, God bless you all as our customers, your experience you think is the store and that experience. But there's a tremendous amount of opportunity, careers, excellence that goes on behind the scenes. And everything that VMS does, almost every single role they have, we have in retail in one form or another. I mean, he deals with facilities. I dealt with facilities. He has a call center. I've managed call centers. So every activity that we have, I understand as a consumer looking in, you might not know it, but there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes to make all that happen. And so when I've been in the VMS area, which is limited, but my experiences have been positive, they are the very things that we did corporately in all the retail jobs I've worked in. So I relate to them, and together we work cross-functionally to deliver the best guest service and yet deliver the corporate objectives of expense control and the budget.
Thank you. Carl, do you have a question?
Yes. Thank you for volunteering.
You're welcome.
I see in your CV that you basically had a lot of management, you've been in a management role.
Yes.
I'm also in a management role. So it indicates here that you do listen, you have listening skills, but being in a management role, you're a listener, and then as a result of the listening, the final decision, the buck stops with you, okay? But in this particular case, you're going to have to be in a collaborative, team-playing role.
Yes.
And you think that you would be up to that task to be in that particular role rather than being the person in charge?
Very much, Carl, and that's a great question. Several of my roles in the time, I have been in staff positions versus line positions. For those of you, what you're describing is when I was in a line position where I managed people it was my call. I made it happen. But several of my roles, for example, when I was in the legal department for 5 years, that was a staff position. And my role was to consult and advise senior management in terms of the scope and the legalities of what we were doing. The same thing I did when I ran internal audit, because I couldn't make that happen. But I had then had to empower and advise the management committee to make that happen. So I see this role more of a staff position, and trust me, I wouldn't miss the line position at all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Maggie, do you have a question?
Okay, we're a successful community. We are a model for new CIDs. We have endured for a long time, and we have residents moving in and out from all areas. Our responsibility of the board is to consider the many over the single. Okay? Now, what you've talked about is customer service, which is the single. Our reason is to continue as a successful corporation and a successful village. Can you transfer some of your energy to the, or maybe you already have, to consideration of the whole rather than the individuals?
Very much so. That's a great question, Maggie. At the levels of the positions I've had, they generally are big picture. They're the higher level, the 30,000-foot level, because you always have to look at that direction. If you get so entrenched into the minutia and the weeds of just one situation, then that's a problem. But one of my favorite phrases in the world of work was order of magnitude. And that's what I would trust your board to do, because if in fact there is a trend, and suddenly if we have 150 residents and villagers that have a problem, okay, we need to look at that versus bless the soul that comes in and they have the one problem. That is not the order of magnitude that we would have to react to. So I understand weighing the balances, order of magnitude again. And my other phrase that is my favorite is short-term benefit versus long-term effect. So the short-term benefit could be a happy camper, a happy resident, but the long-term effect is, for example, the reserves are depleted or whatever. I mean, this is your job. But the reality is I'm very comfortable in that position. And yet I want to make the resident that perhaps feels ignored, just make them, listen to them, make them feel happy. You know, and we can't do everything to all people all the time, but it's that balance. But yes, very much so, big picture. I function better in that level. To Carl's good questions, I loved managing my people, but the reality is when I got to be the director level in my positions, I thrived because it was a bigger picture, bigger effect, and bigger impact.
Thank you. Gary?
I have no further questions.
Okay. Elsie?
I have no further questions. Thank you for volunteering.
I'm glad they do so.
Anthony?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks for volunteering. Very impressive. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony.
No question?
I have a question.
No, you've already had your question.
No, I have a question in general. We haven't seen the CDs of
You have it. You have it. It's in your package.
Get it out of your mail.
No. We had it in plenty of time. Thank you, Dorothy. Appreciate it. And next candidate is Lenny Ross. Lenny?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's very nice to see Madam President, other board members, VMS staff, and corporate counsel. It's been a while since I've been here. In 2016, 2017, I was fortunate enough to serve as president of the United Board, and I can further contribute to our community by representing United Board as a member of VMS Board. A little bit about my background. I graduated from University of Southern California. I went on to Arizona State to get my master's in business. I've worked for about 40 years in sales management for various companies, which I won't go into detail. But in all of those positions, I've had staff that I've had to work with superiors to satisfy the customers, meet budgets, pay payroll, and make sure that our customers, which are the number one concern for us, have to be taken care of. As a former business person and United board member, I've gained a good insight on how to treat employees with the highest level of respect while holding them accountable to provide the highest level of service while maintaining good fiscal controls. If I am selected to be your VMS board member, there are 3 things that I'd like to focus on. First, pension liabilities. Pension liabilities have become a big problem in our state of California, and that is why most corporations and government institutions have provided more 401k plans replacing pensions. I would like to investigate, if I am fortunate enough to become on VMS, what our pension liabilities are for Laguna Woods, and are we still offering pensions, or have we also switched to 401k plans? This is a big problem, and I'd like to find out if we have any underlying balloons that are waiting to burst, and I think I'd like to investigate that further. Second area, I'd like to investigate if we should consider outside companies to outsource some of our current services we currently provide due to the heavy financial burden of having our employees. As good as our employees are, they come with a heavy burden, including financial burdens include salaries, health benefits, workers' compensation, Social Security, etc. And I'd like to take a look at the possibility of offering outside services more than what we currently offer. Finally, third area I'd like to review is how our salaries compare with other comparably sized organizations to determine if we could increase the base salaries that would benefit many of our community residents that serve as gate ambassadors. And so I'd like to take a look at that to see if we're keeping up with inflation and meeting salary expectations of our employees. That's basically it. I wanted to thank you for giving me this opportunity to meet you and see you again, and I'll be glad to answer any of your questions.
All right, let's start the questions over on this side this time. Anthony?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no questions, and good to see you again. I hope you're in good health.
Nice to see you, too.
Okay. Elsie?
I don't have any questions, but thank you for volunteering, Lenny.
Thank you.
Gary?
Good to see you again. Good luck.
Thank you.
Maggie?
Okay, I assume that you consider the many over the single. In your emphasis, you seem to be talking about employees, but just as a general overall question, I'd like to ask, how strongly do you feel that United must succeed as a corporation that benefits the many rather than the few?
I think that's the mandate as a director of United Board, and for VMS Board for that matter, is to satisfy your constituents, your customers, your clients, which are the members, as best you can. And it's very difficult to make everyone happy all the time, but at least through communicating with your clients, the members, you can take care of their problems, and that's the number one issue to do, is to take care of the problems of the community as best as possible.
Thank you.
Carl?
Thank you for volunteering. I have no questions.
Reza?
I have the same question asked from the other applicant. How does your experience in business, specifically sales, relate to the activities of VMS, which is mostly maintaining the facilities in here, in landscape and technical areas?
I think the function of a board of director for VMS is to make sure that our employees are taken care of, and also that the employees follow instruction to do the best possible work they can, and also that there is some fiscal controls over the employees. So during my career, I've had to do all of those things. Take care of our employees, making sure that we meet budgets and we meet fiscal controls for our employees, and most importantly, we meet the customer's requirements for us. And in this case, that means to take care of all their needs. And so my business background has given me a direct relationship with working with VMS.
Thank you. All right, Cash?
Well, Lenny, let me say thank you for coming back again. I do have one question. You did mention that you will like to see take some work outside. I think that's how, I would like to know how you're going to do that, because we do have some restrictions. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, we
Because of the
currently
labor
work with unions.
Yes.
And although I think that we need to take a look at other communities that have very few employees, being in Irvine or other areas of our surroundings, and yet they're able to work with outside companies to manage and provide services that are needed for the community. I would look at landscaping as a possibility. It's one of our largest services that we provide, to see if there are companies, and I know there are companies, that can provide the same level or more service that our current employees do. And if we could, and I'm not mentioning that we would make the change, I just want to study the possibility of making such a change. Could be in landscaping, it could be in other areas too.
Thank you.
That's what I'd like to do.
Andre?
Thank you, Lenny. Glad to see you coming back. We've been trying to invite you to come back a lot of times. And I know you were in the United Board and you were president, and you've been very helpful with our community. So my question here is that what have you seen that as a president and a previous board member that you couldn't do, and as the board member, United Board member, and now you want to change direction going to VMS? What do you think will be more effective producing in the VMS side rather than on the board side?
Yeah, I think when I was on the United Board, and I remember working on budgets, and I don't remember ever coming up to us as an issue the liabilities that were facing us for pensions. And therefore, now it may be part of the budget process now since I come out of office, but when I was in office as a president of United, I don't remember that part coming. And that's why I wanted to make that a special plan if I am elected onto VMS, that I want to take a look at that and see if we are carrying some excess liabilities from the past that we may want to mitigate in the future.
Okay. Sue?
What sort of quality improvements have you been involved in? We need to do a lot of quality improvements for effectiveness and efficiency. And what sort of work in quality have you done?
Are you talking about when I was on the board or any time?
In your life.
Okay. Well, I could talk about some areas of quality that we've worked with to improve when I was on the board. And one of the areas was we had a task force set up to examine the colors that are used in our community, the paint colors. And we came up with, the task force, which came and went, we came up with exact specific colors, which are now part of our community when we paint our manors. So that's one area. But as far as quality, I think we also took a deep dive into looking at how we're going to fix our pipes. And at the time when I was on the board, that was a big issue. And we came up with the areas of improvement now that are used to repair our pipes to make them last 20 or 30 years longer. That process was developed when I was on the board. And that has specifically resulted in improving the quality of our manners in our community.
Thank you.
Manuel?
Thank you for volunteering. I have no questions.
Thank you, Lenny.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you've all been given a ballot. If you will mark your ballot and put it on there, Cheryl will collect it. Oh, sorry, I was trying to help. Go the other way around.
Oh, okay, right, right. Got it.
I know. I know why it's created an agency, but how did they find out? That was my question. Yeah, I don't know about the globe. I read it, I didn't see that. I'm feeling you were selected. I have a feeling they may have been told that there is vacancy.
All right. The result of the vote is our new director is going to be Dorothy Pasella. Welcome. And we did have one abstention, so that's too bad. But thank you very much, and thank you, Lenny. And may I also remind you, there's a GRF election coming up soon.
Yes.
All right. Dorothy, I'd like, hope you don't have to run. I know our meeting goes long, but I'd like to invite you to have lunch with us and stay for our business meeting in this afternoon. All right, now we go to number 10, which is our CEO report.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning, everybody. Congratulations to Dorothy. The things I'd like to update you with are a number, so I'm going to start right away. Gates 10 and 14 open early. You know, as you know, we've been working on all of our gates, and with 10 and 14 opening early, we're still working on gate 4. We hope to have it open the 19th of August, and we're just working on the last electrical issues there, so we'll have that done. So we're looking forward to having those gates open. We received a new bus to add to our addition to our bus system. This bus was introduced to the fleet on July 24th. It's funded through our 2019 Capital Improvement Program. Was tested by a Mobility and Vehicles Committee before ordering it. The features are a low floor ramp, accommodates up to 20 passengers in different configurations, including 18 riders and 1 wheelchair, or 16 riders and 2 wheelchairs. So this is a positive addition to our bus fleet system. I wanted to remind members also of our bulky item pickups. We have 3 bulky item pickup options available. Monthly pickup offered on the 3rd Saturday of each month. This is place items curbside or next to the collection bin. We have a incidental pickup on regular scheduled service days. These where you place items next to the dumpster and trash enclosures, and residents must notify resident services in advance of that activity. And then we have in-home pickup. This is 2 pickups per address per owner. Items collected from inside residents if there is a clear path to the item from the entry door. Residents, again, must notify resident services in advance for that service. Want to remind residents to use the Dwelling Live program. This is simplified guest access for your visitors. Registered guests online and print passes 24 hours a day using your computer and tablet or smartphone. Simply visit lagunawoods.com, click on residents, then click on guest passes. Or you can contact resident services at 949-597-4600, or again, resident services at vmsinc.org for assistance to help you out with that program. It will and certainly relieves pressure on resident services and our gate ambassadors if you use that program. So we encourage it. Tomorrow, August 14th, coming up August 14th, I wanted to mention the Recreation Department's first annual half-day comprehensive training session is going to be conducted. Training is designed to help Recreation continue to provide the best services possible to our residents. We've talked about training is important for our organization. During that time, Recreation facilities will be closed from noon to 5 p.m. except the pools, the golf facility, and Clubhouse 1, which will remain open. Wanted to kind of piggyback on what Tim talked about and all the work that he's doing with disaster preparedness. The task force is also working on additional training programs that are coming up. Upcoming training free to residents and their guests. 3 of them I wanted to mention. Basic first aid on Monday, September 16th, 1 to 4 p.m. At Clubhouse 7. Good Neighbor Captain Program on Wednesday, October the 2nd, 1 to 3 p.m. This will be at the PAC. And then our adult CPR and AED programs training Monday, October 21st from 1 to 4 p.m. again at Clubhouse 7. We'll continue to get this information out since those are a little bit of a lead, but I wanted to let you know ahead of time. Pre-registration is required for basic first aid and the CPR AED training, so make sure you get a hold of Recreation Services for that. Also, the email, I should say Recreation, I said Disaster Preparedness Task Force Group. Email disaster preparedness, that's all one, at vmsinc.org or call 268-2356 to register. Those were the updates. I also wanted to mention just a thank you on behalf of the staff working with the United Board, going through the budget process that we did. A very lengthy process, as you know, and thank you for making those comments. We felt good about the presentation on Friday, and look forward to finishing it up with the resolution in September. But I just wanted to thank all the board members for their work and asking great questions and working with the staff on that. So thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you. Item number 11 on our agenda is the consent calendar, and we have 2 items on the consent calendar this month. One is a Finance Committee recommendation to file in small claims court. And the second, of course, is our Civil Code 5501. We have the subcommittee, the treasurer, and 2 other board members who have gone through and reviewed the financials and have signed off on them. So I would like a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I move to approve the consent calendar.
Okay, it's been moved by Maggie and seconded by Cash. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, we will do it without objection. In unfinished business, we have 2 items that were brought forth from.
Don't we vote on that?
No.
I asked if there was anything, and they said,
I'll wait for the slide to come up.
no.
I'm voting against it.
Well, then I asked if there were any objections, and there was no response. And I said objection. All right, we will record the vote. Please vote on your screen.
Thank you.
All right, the vote is 9 in favor and 2 against.
Yes, you did.
I didn't.
You're up there.
I didn't vote.
I can record your vote as nay. Is that your vote?
No, it was a yes on it. Oh, yeah, I want
No.
to record as no.
Okay.
All right, so the vote is 9 in favor and 3 against. It still passes. Excuse me, you're right. All right, unfinished business, we had 2 items that were brought forward from last month. First of all, I'll entertain a motion to adopt a resolution for enforcement of the move-in, move-out rules and regulations. This has complied with Civil Code 4360 and has the 28-day notification completed. Madam Secretary, would you read this resolution, please?
Whereas the Finance Committee recommends filing separate small claims court cases of $2,500.
No.
Not that one?
Nope, let's try move in, move out. 12A.
12A, sorry. Sorry. Okay, 12A, here we go. Oh, yes, all right. This is the move in, move out. We are moving, the change from the old one is to make the moving hours 7 to 4 for beginning, with completion at 8 o'clock. The old hours were 7 to 6 with beginning, and the conclusion must be by 10 o'clock. So this reduces the hours of moving in and moving out and gives peace in the community a little bit earlier.
All right, do you move it?
Excuse me, point of order. I thought the secretary was supposed to read the resolution or just interpretation.
It is not necessary to read the complete resolution. If you would like her to, I'm sure she can. Most of our board members can read them and do them, and all she does is highlight the changes if there are any. Would you
I
like her to
understand.
read the resolution?
I understand all the boards have read that, but for the residents, they just received this one, so it's probably benefit for them.
She just summarized it, and that's fine.
All right. Shall we vote?
Do you move it?
Or-
Comments?
I move this resolution.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, now I'll go for comments. All right, seeing none, we will vote. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, there is.
There was
Give
none on
one
my
resident.
screen. That's all right. Barbara?
I just have one question. I noticed there's not a day in the resolution. Can they do this on a Sunday?
No, the move-in, move-out brochure says not on Sunday. It's just Monday through Saturday.
But you don't have it in the resolution?
That's true. It refers to the...
We're only changing the time, everything else remains the same.
Yeah, basically, we just changed the time. Everything else remained the same. So we didn't have to enumerate that in the resolution, but if you would like, we can certainly go back. All right, under the first whereas, we will add not on Sunday, which is in the policy,
On Sunday?
not on Sunday.
Okay. That is the current policy, so
That is
that
the
is
current
not a
policy.
change. And this one does not supersede and cancel the current policy.
Right.
It just changes the time only.
All right,
This is an amendment?
No, it's just changing the times only. This resolution does not change any of the rest of the resolution which is currently in practice. This is just changing the times like I told you.
So this is not a
We're-
resolution?
We're not, it is a resolution, but it's
Changing
just
the
for a change
times.
of the times.
it is not a new resolution changing the whole thing. It is an
The
addition.
entire resolution in existence tells where and when and that they have to check in at the gate and follow certain other procedures. It's a couple of pages long, and we don't have it here, as we are not changing any of those things. This is only specific for the time.
Manuel?
Here's a language I just printed in. Excuse me. Here's a language that's printed in. Another question to keep in my mind. In the first paragraph where it says moving in the community and move-in, move-outs are not allowed on Sundays. How about holidays?
I don't believe we've prohibited it on holidays because
Okay, they are prohibited or not?
they're not.
Okay. So that'd be the addition of the word then, huh? Move-in, move-outs are not allowed on Sunday.
We're trying to accommodate our existing residents as much as possible, but by the same token, people moving in and moving out need to be able to do it at times that are convenient for
fine.
them.
I just wanted to confirm the language.
All right, would you put the vote screen up, please, to vote on this motion to adopt the resolution for move-in, move-out?
When it passes.
I'm still missing two
Director
votes.
Bastani,
Elsie's
can I
out
have your
of the
vote?
room.
Oh, okay.
And
Right, that would
Director
be nine.
Addington.
Still missing one.
Reza? Reza?
Use your finger, use your finger.
Use your finger, just touch it.
All right, would you give your vote to
A voice vote?
Daniel?
Reza?
Are you voting in favor or against?
I am pushing yes, but it's not
Thank you.
All right,
doing anything.
Thank you.
all right,
That's
so
fine.
the vote is 9-1.
Thank you.
All right, the second one was to entertain a motion to adopt a resolution for traffic school eligibility. Again, it has met the 28-day notification in 4360 and satisfied it. Would you read just that resolution, please?
Right. This, if you look at this chart, if you look at this chart, the first 600, 601, 602, 610, 620, 630, and 640 are all eligible for traffic school. There are moving violations, and traffic school is suitable for that. The other violations above, 650, 660, 680, 690, 691, are not suitable for traffic school, and the motion is not to allow them to do traffic school.
No, 691 is not
690.
included. 691 is not included.
Oh, that's right. You can write, okay, so 691 and 695 will be eligible for traffic school, except they'll probably not do it. And then all of the parking violations are not suitable for traffic school. So this is the essence of the motion. If you would like me to read the entire motion, I can.
Why don't you?
All right. Where vehicle traffic and parking rules, whereas the Security Department is responsible for the administration of the Laguna Woods Village vehicle traffic and parking rules, including coordination of traffic school, and whereas traffic school is designed for Laguna Woods Village drivers to address traffic safety topics and is available to an individual once during any 3-year period, and whereas the board has identified violations that are ineligible for traffic school, such as certain parking violations that are not related to the material discussed in traffic school, and serious moving violations that endanger the community. Now therefore be it resolved on August 13, 2019, the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby amends the traffic school section of the vehicle traffic and parking rules as attached to the official minutes of this meeting, and resolve further that Resolution 01-1911, approved on January 8, 2019, is hereby superseded and canceled. Resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution as written. I move this resolution.
Okay, do I have a second? Thank you, Gary. All right, it's been moved by Maggie and seconded by Gary for this resolution, and I will point out that this does supersede a former resolution, whereas the other was an addition to. Is there, yes, Manuel?
I believe on the list of fines that there might be an error. Under 714, you got 000 there, unpermitted electric plug-in golf carts versus electric vehicle. I would think that would also be ineligible.
I agree to that. I second that motion if that's an amendment. Is that a typo? We don't know. This is moved. I wonder what.
Yeah, it's almost a typo, huh?
Yeah, I wonder if it isn't a typo. Let me look at the list from last month. No, it was not on last month's either.
Yeah,
It is a new insertion.
yeah, the code 000 means it was something that was added.
Right.
It does not have a regular code to it, so,
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear it's an oversight.
yes.
Right.
Siobhan?
Tim Moy just sent me a message indicating 000 is not permitted for traffic school.
Thank you.
So we'll put an
We'll correct-
asterisk before the
we'll correct the
000.
chart. Yes.
Thank you. All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, would you, oh, I'm sorry.
They
Carl.
are, there are three
We're
of them.
voting on the addition of 000, correct?
No.
No. That was
No,
just
that's
a
a
Scrivener's
typo.
error.
Oh, okay, we're considering
Yeah.
a Scrivener's error.
Right, right.
That
Right,
Scrivener's
that
error
is
part
as part of it, so we're voting on the regular motion. All right, Sue?
I would like to okay this, but I also believe we should have a traffic school for parking, another class added, so that people could go to a traffic school, and it's just a recommendation in the future that we put together a class on parking.
Okay, may I suggest that you go to the Security Access Committee and suggest that? Okay, any other comment? Reza?
I think there should be something on this stating this is final at certain date.
Your
So-
microphone's not on, we can't hear
Yeah,
you.
it's on.
No, it's on.
Okay, well, you need to get closer to it then.
Yeah. I think we should put something here that this is the final schedule, certain at this date. So people looking for it don't get confused. There are too many resolutions that to read.
Well, it says August 13th on the now therefore it be resolved.
But I understand that the parking
Yeah, but
violation
not
sheet
there. I
that
mean
comes out
here.
from security, we will make that
No, I mean in
suggestion
this-
to security.
I mean in this.
I understand. It does not have a date on it. We will make that suggestion to security. We do not publish that.
Okay.
Security does.
It will come out.
All right, Manuel?
There is a date, which needs to be corrected. Down on the right-hand corner of the penalty sheet.
Oh, I see. It's tiny,
Covered up
tiny,
a little bit, but it
2/16/18.
says Updated 2/16/18, so that needs to be changed.
Right. Okay, this will come out in your assessment package in a few
Right,
months.
but that's a good comment. We will
Good.
bring that up to
Yep.
security. As I say, we
Thank
do
you.
not publish this, security does. So we will bring them that comment.
What is the effective date? Is it August 13th?
Yes. All right, can we get the voting screen, please, Dan?
I have a question. I
Yes.
thought- Do I have it on?
You,
the-
no, but go ahead.
Okay, I thought I have it, oh, no, it's there. Okay, so I just want to say that I voted a no for this one because in the whereas it's about the second line there, it's about the traffic safety topics, and in the third whereas the last one is serious moving violations endanger the community. So we go back to the parking violations. Some of them are not serious violation, moving violations. They are not moving violations and endanger the community, and they are not safety topics. Quite a few of them. I understand there are no parking zones that we shouldn't park in there. That I agree with that. Abandoned vehicle has nothing to do with safety, and
I'm sorry, what's your point?
and my point is the reason I'm voting no. Can I state that reason?
Please.
Okay, so limited on time parking, it's not violating, it's not a safety issue, it's just exceed the time, okay? And the recreation vehicles parking over a 6-hour limit, these are not.
That's why
by
they're
definition.
ineligible for traffic school.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that are ineligible, if you'll look at that.
That was my question. Those are these are the reason for ineligible is because traffic safety topics or moving violation that endanger the community. So these extras on the parking violation, many of these are not safety topics and not moving violations and endanger the community.
If you'll look down at the bottom, the asterisk means that the violation is ineligible for traffic school.
Right.
I suggest they should be eligible for traffic school.
Eligible for
Traffic school has nothing to do with parking.
No.
Then we
Okay.
need to update the traffic school.
Thank you.
That's what Sue said, and I said go to
Let's vote.
security access and suggest that a new traffic school curriculum be
But
developed.
this is our direction, so our direction is
Thank
to
you.
follow them. May I speak, please?
You can.
You can,
Please finish.
Yeah, that's what I say, we give directions. It's not the security department gives the directions.
Yes,
We
it
give the
is.
directions. So, I thought VMS, we give directions, or VMS take it, execute it, rather than VMS gives us direction.
Security comes up with the suggestions, and we pass it or not.
No, okay, how about the
All right,
vote no?
you can vote no, that's fine. All right, well, let's put the voting screen back up, please.
Madam President, we have one.
Oh, I'm
resident
sorry,
who's
Maxine.
requested.
You are on my list.
Boy, Juanita, you have a good memory with everything going on. I want to make a quick comment that Sue's idea about another class, I hope you do take that to security, because I know a lot of us are offered an insurance deduction if we take a class just for our personal edification. Good idea. I'm looking at the second whereas. I just want to be sure this says what you want it to. For Laguna Woods Village drivers. Now, Jeffrey can probably tell us if that means anyone driving through the village. If you want it to be residents, you might want to word it a little differently. That would cover anyone driving through the village, wouldn't it? Is that what you want? Then you've got it. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we're going to try again to vote.
My screen is not working again.
Just touch barely.
Could you tell me
I
your
don't
vote and I can
touch
record
barely,
it? Director Bastani?
All right, would you give your vote to the corporate secretary, please?
how do you vote?
No,
Thank you.
All right, the vote is 9 in favor and 2 against. All right, under new business, we have 3 items this time. This is the first reading, and the items that we will look at today will go on, one of them will go on 28-day notification for member comment. The other 2 do not require that they go on. They're not under 4360 and do not require that they go out to the members for 28 days. So let's look at the first one. Madam Secretary, would you read the resolution for the motion to introduce a revised resolution to allow guarantors for prospective members?
Whereas United Laguna Woods Mutual, hereinafter United or Corporation, is a nonprofit mutual benefit corporation existing under and by virtue of the laws of the state of California, organized for the purpose of providing its members with housing on a cooperative nonprofit basis pursuant to the provisions set forth in its articles of incorporation and bylaws and board resolutions. Whereas the corporation's amended and restated bylaws provides the purpose of the corporation is to, among other things, manage, maintain, preserve, and administer the business of a common interest development, specifically a stock cooperative. Whereas the bylaws provide that the board of directors of the corporation is responsible for managing the business and affairs and exercising all corporate powers of the corporation. Whereas United is a stock cooperative wherein each shareholder member is granted the right to occupy a specific unit pursuant to an occupancy agreement together with ownership of one share in the cooperative, provided each shareholder member meets the financial qualifications set forth in the financial qualifications policy. Whereas the Board of Directors desires the ability to enter into occupancy agreements with certain members whereby those members, meaning, require guarantors to meet the cooperation's financial qualifications in order to qualify for membership and consistent policies regarding the same. Now therefore be it resolved that the following resolution is adopted by the Board of Directors. Number 1, personal unconditional continuing guarantee and security agreement. The corporation by and through the Board of Directors is authorized to enter into personal unconditional continuing guarantee and security agreement in the manner and form attached hereto as Exhibit A and incorporated herein by reference thereto, and such personal unconditional continuing guarantee and security agreement will bind the corporation. Specifically, the corporation may accept from guarantors a guarantee to pay a member's debt and/or obligation should the member default or otherwise fail to pay a debt and/or obligation owed to the corporation pursuant to an executed personal unconditional continuing guarantee and security agreement, and to cause security documents which the corporation may require and which shall evidence the assets pledged by such.
She's reading from the original one, not the revised one. She left out, located in California before, and she left out California assets right now. So you're reading from the wrong one.
I am reading from
It was
the pink
fine up
one.
to this point. you
Yes,
gotta
but
revise
we had
it. Okay?
I'm
I
sorry.
didn't mean to interrupt, but
Thank you.
it's pretty important.
Yes.
Oh dear, do I have to start
I
again?
was raising my arm,
Okay.
nobody recognized me.
We got to the other. There was an addendum back there to this because what was in Exhibit A was not
Oh, yes.
spelled out in the
Oh, goody,
resolution.
goody.
Very
Okay,
important
well,
change.
Therefore, we.
I'll read as
Thank
fast
you.
as I can. Thank you very much. I recognize this one. This is the one I prefer. Thank you. That was just an aside. Don't listen. Okay, shall I start again?
Only
Oh,
from
all
this
right.
paragraph specifically, only from here.
All right, we'll go on to page 2, page 4 of 10. And we'll start with specifically. And here I will indicate the changes. Specifically, the corporation may accept from guarantors located in California a guarantee to pay members' debt and/or obligation should the member default or otherwise fail to pay a debt and/or obligation owed to the corporation pursuant to an executed personal unconditional continuing guarantee and security agreement, and to cause security documents which the corporation may require, which shall evidence the California assets pledged by such guarantors. The guarantee and security agreement includes not only a promise to pay, but it identifies the guarantor's means to pay, the security or collateral, and authorizes the creditor, United, to file UCC financing statements with respect to the security or collateral in California. This option, the filing of a UCC financing statement with the Secretary of State, creates collateral and secures United's debt. Further acts, the Board of Directors, we need a sus there. Two, the board, further acts, the Board of Directors, we're adding an S to directors, may do and perform such other acts and things as may be reasonably necessary and proper in order to carry into effect the provisions of this resolution, including but not limited to revising the current operative financial qualifications policy to allow prospective members to meet the corporation's financial qualifications, and to revise such other documentation as may be necessary and appropriate. Be it further resolved that the officers, directors, and agents of this corporation are authorized to carry out the purpose of this resolution.
You had a question, Elsie?
Yes, ma'am. My notes indicate that before further acts, which is labeled 2, we were going to insert another number 2, a different microphone. Oh, please excuse me.
Wait, let me move this, and then in the discussion, I will explain.
All right.
I move this, I move.
Is there a second?
I
second
this.
it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded, so continue with your discussion.
Sorry. I don't even see where the number 1 is, to tell you the truth, but that further acts used to be number 2. But then, no.
The revised one has 1 and 2.
Oh, duh. Okay, so then we were going to put a new number 2 after Secretary of State creates collateral and secures United debt. And in that number 2, we were going to repeat the information from it's the financial limitations or requirements from the designated by the 2 dots on page 2 of 18, item 13A, the satisfactory verification of income of at least 90,000. And the other dot talks about, in addition to the prospective member's minimum annual income of 24,000. Those 2 items, well, I don't care if we do it or not, I'm just saying we agreed to do that. And then at the end of that, it would end from assets located in California. And then we were going to make further acts number 3. So I'm just mentioning that.
Let me get back to,
Thank you. May I explain? The 2 dots will be then in this forever, and if we change the prices and the requirements, then we would have to go back and change this also. It isn't necessary.
it refers to the financial
It refers to the financial qualifications wherein those are stated.
I don't think they are.
Also, and I checked with our attorney, who so agrees. This is his, and I will tell you what is here on page 5. This is a restatement by Jeff, very carefully done, the whole thing. And page 5, which is 7 of 10, says in the second paragraph, all obligations of guarantor shall be performed at Laguna Woods, California. At all times herein, guarantor's primary residence and/or, if an entity, place of business, filing, registration, or incorporation shall be in the state of California, and guarantor's assets shall also be located in California. United may from time to time change or modify any obligation between member and United in any manner it may deem fit, and such change shall not affect the liability of the guarantor in any manner. Now turn to page 9 of 10, which is also page 7, and you will see on the handy-dandy secured collateral chart, we have inserted in red the words "in California." So I did move this resolution, so that's it.
all right, is there any further discussion on this?
Yeah, I think
Let's go.
Oh, okay, thank you. Manuel?
My only comment is we've been through this a number of times, so I think we should go for a speedy vote on this. Thank you.
All right. Did you want to speak?
yeah. As this is very important, I'd like to see this clarified and then come to the board at that time, because there's too many back and forth from pages to pages that has to be added, deleted, addendum, etc. So I'm gonna go
It has been, and that's why you got the extra copy, because it had the extra in it.
Okay.
Any other questions? Carl?
I'd just like to say that the addendum was put in for this thing because they felt that the resolution didn't carry that information. But if you look in the resolution, it specifically refers back to the document that's attached, the Exhibit A, which has all of that information in it. They just did it for some clarity purposes, but that was always there, the California issue. Just want to let everybody know, and I'm going to be voting yes for this.
We have to be careful with resolutions because we don't want to often change the whole resolution. If in the future we changed our financial qualifications, that would be a different resolution. And this resolution just refers to the financial qualifications, whatever we do. But we don't have to enumerate it in each of the, in this resolution. We try to make it as general as possible. Andre?
Thanks for the opportunity to speak about this issue. I will vote for yes for this resolution. Guarantor is stated in the bylaws, and for some reason, the previous decision was to take it out, and we don't honor bylaw guarantors anymore. I'm glad this is coming back and allow more people to buy our United Co-op properties, and hopefully that will raise the price of the units. Thank you.
All right. Roberta? No?
Well, now that I use the agenda and not the addendum, I hope everything works, but I think there should be no trouble. I'm really here to urge you to pass this resolution reviving a policy that existed here for many years, seldom used, and caused no problems to the mutual. Its purpose is to allow some who can afford to purchase here but may not meet the financial qualifications that this board has set, for them to find a family member or a for-profit company, which I object to guarantee payments of the unit's maintenance if there's ever a problem. Something that many people out there are not aware of is that this policy also relates to a child of a current resident, to allow them to inherit and keep and live in this inherited unit if their assets do not meet the requirements. Without a guarantor policy, our children, if they don't meet these requirements, will be forced to sell the unit. What better neighbor can we have than one familiar with the community year after year? And what better gift can you give a resident than peace of mind to know that their child will be able to live in this wonderful community in a home with many memories? Please vote in favor of guarantors. I do wish and implore you to reconsider, I feel like this is, to reconsider some of the items in the policy, however. The filing of the UCC statement seems unnecessary. It makes a simple policy a cumbersome and expensive one. Our staff will constantly have to prepare papers at a cost to us and for a cost to the mutual, and then pay attorney's fees on top of it. Third does not require this. I don't see the need for it either. What is the difference? Which pocket of the guarantor the money is coming from to us as long as we get it? The mutual is guaranteed this, and that's all that we care about. I believe what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Please think about removing it. If it's good for third not to have it, it should be good for us also. The second item I wish you would reconsider is the guarantor and their money must only be in California. It does not make sense to me. There is no requirement for a current member and their money to remain in California when they rent their unit. We don't make them stay here. If we have to go after them, we have to go after them where they are. But all these legal costs and related to looking for them and finding their money are paid for by the guarantor. This does not cost the board anything. People in this community come from the entire country. Why should we have, oh, okay.
All right, your time is up.
Okay, thank you.
All right. It's time to vote. All right. So the vote is 10 in favor and 1 against. The motion passes. New business B, entertain a motion to approve the 2020 collection and lien enforcement policy. I just have to say, the only change in this is the date. It's the lien enforcement policy we've had in place for a number of years. Madam Secretary, would you?
All right. Whereas in accordance with California Civil Code, United Laguna Woods Mutual maintains a collection and lien enforcement policy that outlines the procedures, policies, and practices employed by the mutual in enforcing lien rights or other legal remedies for default in payment of assessments. Whereas legal counsel has reviewed the existing collection and lien enforcement policy and determined that the policy as written complies with civil code requirements and reflects current policies for collection of mutual delinquencies. Now, therefore, it be resolved September 10th, 2019, that the Board of Directors hereby adopts the 2020 United Laguna Woods Mutual Collection and Lien Enforcement Policy as attached to the official minutes of this meeting, and resolve further, the policy statement is provided pursuant to the requirements of California Civil Code, Section 5310A7, and will be distributed to members in November 2019 as part of the annual policy statement. Resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution. I move this resolution.
All right, is there a second? Cash, thank you. It's been moved by Maggie and seconded by Cash. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, would you put the voting screen up, please?
Voted yes, but it's not working.
All right, would you give your vote to Daniel, please? Yes or no?
He said yes.
Yes.
It's up there.
It is up there.
And Anthony's out.
Somehow or other, it worked this time. And Anthony is out, so 9, and so is Manuel. So anyway,
All 9 that are present.
all 9 that are present, right? So it's 9 in favor and none against. C, a motion to approve supplemental funding for the 2019 water heater replacement program.
Thank you. What? Supplemental funding for 2019 water heater program. Whereas United Laguna Woods Mutual was constructed in the mid-60s, and the original water heaters did not have temperature pressure relief valves. Therefore, drain lines were not installed in most units. And whereas in 2015, the City of Laguna Woods Building Department began enforcing the 2013 California Plumbing Code regarding the installation of new replacement water heaters with TP relief valves, and whereas the water heater replacement program was placed on hold while staff researched alternatives to this costly requirement, thus creating a significant backlog, whereas the United Mutual eventually received approval to use I suggest we cross out the of, to use a water shut-off device in addition to the installation of a Smitty pan at the base of the water heater as a secondary containment method when directing a line to the exterior is not possible. Whereas current funding is not sufficient to complete the backlog of water heater installations, and the completion of the water heater program would require a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $940,000 to be funded from the replacement fund to cover the 2019 budget variance and complete the backlog of installations this year. And whereas on June 26, 2019, the M&C Committee directed staff to continue the water heater replacement program and to bring a report to the Finance Committee and Board in order to secure supplemental funding. Now therefore be it resolved on August 13, 2019, the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby authorizes a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $940,000 to be funded from the replacement fund to fund the budget variance and complete the backlog of water heater replacements in 2019. And resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution. I move this resolution.
Is there a second? Thank you. It's been moved by Maggie and seconded by Carl. Is there any discussion? Okay, Cash?
If we go to page 1, under discussion, we got 2,800 units to be replaced, and we are talking about $940,000. Somehow those numbers don't jive. And we are taking that money from the replacement fund,
It's a reserve fund.
the reserve fund.
That's the reserve.
I thought we can't use the reserve fund for,
That's, no,
That's what.
that's what the reserves are for,
this is what.
Yeah.
for replacements.
All right, but 940,000 is enough to replace 2,800 units? Doesn't-
The back, that's what it says.
That puts each unit less than $250. I don't think we can do that. Something need to be relooked at there. I'm going to vote no.
Oh, wait, maybe there's another.
We have already replaced a number of them. This
Right.
is to finish up what hasn't been replaced. I think 1,275 have already been taken care of, and this is to add on to get the rest of them. It isn't the total number of money that's being spent.
940 is not for 2,800 units.
No. It's for the ones that have not been taken care of, and we have time enough to take care of this year.
Right. We could stop now, when our money runs out for this year, and wait until January to start again, which is very inefficient. And that's why the supplemental from the reserve will keep the program going through the end of the year to take care of this backlog. All right, can we have the vote screen up?
Director Bastani, can I have your vote?
Yes. So it's 10-0.
And Mr. Armendariz is getting coffee.
Is out of the room. Well, he's back there. Do you want to vote, Manuel?
Okay.
All right, so it's
Thank you.
unanimous. All right. Okay, that takes care of our new business. So going forward to our September meeting, only A, the guarantor proposition will go through for final vote. The other two were approved today. All right, let's go on to item 14, which is our committee reports, and we start with our treasurer.
Okay, can we have the slides, please?
Okay, is your microphone on?
No. Okay, thank you. The income statement as of June 30th, 2019, we had assessment revenues of $20,207,000, non-assessment revenues of $1,205,000, total revenues of $21,412,000, total expenses of $21,238,000. So we had net revenues of $174,000. Page 2, please, or slide 2, I'm sorry. The income statement, the operating fund without depreciation, the assessment revenue, $14,023,000, non-assessment revenue of $976,000, total revenues, $14,999,000, total expenses, $14,285,000, operating surplus of $714,000. Slide 3, please. All right, the income statement, assessment revenues, actual to budget with a variance. Actual was $20,207,000. Budget, $19,558,000, so we had a variance, a positive variance of $649,000. Non-assessment revenues of $1,205,000. Budget, $857,000, variance of $348,000. So our total revenues, $21,412,000, budgeted $20,415,000. Our variance was $997,000. Our total expenses, $21,238,000, budgeted $21,455,000, variance of $218,000. So our net revenue over expense was $174,000. We budgeted a loss of $1,040,000, so our variance is $1,215,000. Slide 4, please. So we had $618,000 that went to outside services, $350,000 to employee comp and related, $348,000 to non-assessment revenues. We had $128,000 that went to utilities, and those were all positive, and our minus was $213,000, which were materials and supplies. Slide 5, please. Non-assessment revenues, $1,204,650. Largest miscellaneous revenues, fees and charges 27%, interest income 15%, laundry 8%, lease processing fees 6%, and so on. Slide 6. Total expenses to date, $21,237,653. Largest portion, 33% employee comp. Property sales and sales tax was next at 26%. Outside services at 16%. Utilities at 9%. Materials and supplies at 8%, and so on. Slide 7, please. Our non-operating fund balances, our beginning balance as of January 1st, 2019 in the contingency, $2,661,000. In our replacement, $19,052,000. Contributions and interest to contingency, $597,000. Our replacement, $5,815,000. Our expenditures, $727,000, and our replacements, $6,120,000. Current balances as of 6/30/2019 in contingency, $2,531,000. Replacements, $18,747,000. Next slide, please. Our fund balances, as you can see, the last 3 years are running pretty, well, everything's running pretty close, actually. Slide 9. Our resales. Okay, our monthly resale report as of July 2019. Our resales this year to date were 197. Our resales last year to date were 217, so we're down 20 sales or 9.2%. Our sales volume as of July 2019, 51,053,444. Our sales volume as of July 2018, 61,352,540. So our change is down 10,299,096 or 16.8%. Our average resale price this year to date is $259,541. Our last year to date was $282,194. So our resales are down $22,653 or 8% change. Our monthly leasing report is 9%, and that's just stayed pretty steady. Our delinquency report as of July 24th, 2019, our current month was 12 at 119,804. Our prior month was 12 at 112,803. So it stayed the same for count, but it went up $7,000. We had one write-off. We had 2 notice of sale files with collection agent. We had 3 files with the collection agent, 3 files submitted to legal counsel, 1 NCB payment requested, and 2 bankruptcies in progress. Chargeable services delinquency report as of this date, current month count is 25 for 178,151, and a prior month count of 190,663. Our next meeting, I have somewhere here, September 24th. That's all I have.
Architectural Control and Standards Committee, Director Ackerkar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The committee did not meet in July. Next meeting, August 15th, in the Elm Room at 9:30. And Carl Randazzo is going to chair the meeting because I'm going to be out of town. Thank you.
All right, C, the report of the Communications Committee, Director Beckwell.
Thank you. There was a letter in the Globe which gave a little misinformation, and so 2 of us of the Communications Committee each wrote letters in response to clarify the issue about the budget to the residents, and there were several appearances by directors on this day, and each one of them mentioned a little correction on the budget. The preliminary budget is never the final budget. Thank you. So that's okay what that did. We will meet again when we need to, and we publish the Breeze again, and we have more in the works for that. We thank you for sending your articles to us. Thank you.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Communications Committee. Elsie and Maggie have done a wonderful job of putting together and submitting our stuff to the Breeze and making sure that United is well represented in that publication. All right, the next one is the Member Hearings Committee, Director Ackerkar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The committee met on July 25th, and the next meeting is on August 22nd at 9 o'clock. This is a closed meeting, so not everybody is invited, but we do take care of any complaints and refer them or make proper decisions.
Right,
And
this is
refer
what
social
comes to us
service
from
when needed.
compliance. All right, E, the Governing Doc Review Committee.
Thank you. You just read the guarantors policy. That was a product of our committee. And we thank Jeff for doing the work on that, too. We also discussed, future agenda items are a member guide to United Governance and executive committees and how the word charter is currently used, an explanation of requirements for an heir to become a member. All right, and I'd like to go over a rule of recreation. Candidate flyers may not be placed in any racks in any clubhouse or left on any tables anywhere or surfaces. They may be offered to residents entering or leaving outside the building. So that's my report. We are not meeting in August. We don't seem to have anything hot that we need to deal with. So our meeting is September 23rd. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, the Landscape Committee.
Oh, yes, okay. Well, as you know, mulching started Saturday, and free mulch was available Friday, August 9th through Tuesday today. So if you still need mulch for your indoor plants and stuff, take your plastic bag or whatever container you have and head on out to Clubhouse 4 right now to get your mulch. Okay, we have officially switched to the 5-year tree trimming cycle, and that is reflected in the new budget. So trees due for the trimming will have 1/4 of their canopy removed, which seems like a lot during the hot summer, but it is good for the tree and will keep the limbs from becoming brittle due to hanging leaves and branches. This will open up the trees even if it does reduce the shade. We're trimming by species, not locations, so the trees that need trimming now will be trimmed now. Others will follow up. We approved our turf reduction areas. These are areas which use a lot of water to water the turf. And so we look for qualifications such as, is there a water runoff problem or excess water use? Well, every turf area has a lot of water use. Then, is it on a slope? Is it hard to mow? Is it failing to thrive in patches? So going on those, we've identified several areas for landscape renovation, and we this time have approved a landscape designer with Third to redesign the areas. Now that we removed the turf, then what is put in? Well, we now have a landscape designer employed to do that, and so he will make nice designs, and it won't look agricultural with rows of things like this, like they're being harvested. It will have very nice lines. It's a professional job. That's a great idea. Okay. And I believe that's all we, oh yes, we have now a 2-man ticket team is what Kurt is working on. It's two-man teams called ticket teams. They don't go out and give tickets, they go out and complete tickets. So now your call is into the center, and then it goes to a coordinator who then sends one of the teams out to handle the whole process. So no supervisors need to go out in 2 times, and no one else needs to come out and talk to you. Just this one pair of guys with their truck will come out to you, talk to you, and then do whatever it takes to close that ticket, hopefully that day. So this is the idea. We'll have one team for United and one team for Third, or maybe they'll all come to United when they need to or not. They'll be assigned as needed. This is a very good idea. It will make the cruise a little bit shorter again, but with the truck and the okay to go ahead and do it as you see fit, this will be a very good answer to a lot of backlog and a lot of difficult landscape problems. It's a more quick answer. Thank you. Our next meeting is
October 10th.
October 10th. Thank you very much. Thank you.
The other nice thing about these ticket teams is it means that that's what their job is, and we're not taking people from other teams, which leave them shorthanded to do their regular jobs. So
Well,
this should work out
they will
really
be
well.
permanently removed from their teams,
Right,
but that's.
All right, Resident Advisory Committee, Director Akrakar.
How about the MNC?
Oh, I'm sorry, no, we don't want to hear about MNC. Director Randazzo.
Okay, so there was no meeting of the M&C Committee in July. Our next meeting is scheduled for August 28th. At that meeting, we're scheduled to discuss ongoing projects in the community as well as the following items. Emergency planning costs for in-house staff and outside contractors. And we're also going to take up a verbal discussion on the Solar Power Plant Task Force report. Since we issued the report, we've gotten some information from various parties that maybe some of the historical information in there may not have been totally accurate. We did the best job we could with the information we had, so we're more than willing to change things if there is inaccuracies in there, so we're going to take that up at that meeting also. All residents are invited. Come join us at 9 a.m. on August 28th in the boardroom. Thanks.
Now, Resident Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resident Advisory Committee is where you come when you have problems and they're not resolved. We have a staff member present, so you get one-on-one to talk, and there is no 3-minute clock. So please do come. Its next meeting is on August 15th, which is this Thursday at 4 o'clock in Sycamore Room. It's open for everybody, as long as United member. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's quickly go through the GRF committee highlights. We do have 2 members on every GRF committee, so United does have a voice into what is happening in GRF. The first would be the Finance Committee, Director Morrison.
And my voice is gone. We did not have a committee meeting, so there's nothing to report. Our meeting is August the 21st, 2019 at 1:30 p.m.
That saves us 20 minutes.
All right, the Community Activities Committee, I sat in for Director Margolis at it this month. And the main issues that were discussed and sent forward to the GRF board were things like lane lines for backstroking in the various pools, flags.
No, that's not true. Let me do the report, the meeting.
Oh, okay. And
You
then
sat in the special meeting.
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
We were looking at the Clubhouse 2 has an annex open space, and that's going to be rentable as a park, as an open space in the fall. The park will be area not used for evening events, but can be used for weddings and other receptions in an open area you can set up there. The Golf Pro Shop will now be selling CBD-based products, and when they did sell them, it gave more than $4,000 in merchandise sales. There is no THC in that, so it is not illegal or you won't get a high from them. The GRF Department Policy Revision on Clubs, Groups, and Organizations. They are trying to, we voted to amend the current policy to limit club status to 250 groups, organizations, but we did grandfather in the 287 current clubs. We initiated an annual club group organization fee of $50 to maintain the club status. We apply the rollover process fee calculated by dates to annual billing. There's a limit of rollover dates to 104 per group, and additional reservations are available through the standard lottery process. And we prohibited activities and programs and events geared towards minors. There supposedly is a group that has a school here, and we wanted to prohibit that. This is seen so that persons can rent rooms, not just clubs and groups, to make more rooms available. We accepted a filter from the Sculpture Club for the ceramics room, and a task force was formed to review the emeritus survey. And then a special meeting was called, which I'll turn over to Juanita because I was out of town for that meeting.
Okay. All right. There was a special meeting on the 23rd, and on that, we did extensively talk about the flags, and the decision was recommended by CAC to go forward that backstroke flags be installed at Pool 2. They also talked about flyers, and at this time, flyers were prohibited in Clubhouse 2, and there was a lot of discussion on whether that should continue or not, and basically that also was going forward to the full board. And we do still have lap swim availability for youth ages 11 to 15 at Pool 2, as opposed to just the children's swimming at Pool 6. And the tennis center building renovation was a big thing, and the motion was made to do $10,000 instead of the $72,638 to complete the interior only. It went on to GRF, and GRF went back to the $150,000. So they did not take the recommendation of the CAC on that. The facility use policy was amended to take in new state laws and to basically agree with what the state law now says about our opening our facilities for educational and political, and this is state law now. We have to allow those in. So that was put into the policy. And that was about it at the special meeting. So I had a request to speak from Cash.
Just a quick comment. We had a demonstration of a club for our golfers throughout the community who no longer can swing the club. We had an outside guy come in and demonstrate a club for us that will extend your golf life. So if anybody is interested, talk to me. Thanks.
All right. Landscape Committee?
We're meeting next week. We haven't met in a couple of months. We meet only quarterly. We will be discussing the creek, again, as usual, as always, and everyone is welcome. So come and hear about it. We thought, according to some documents on the last booklet we were given out on the creek, the expiration of the supervision was to be at the end of this month on the 31st. However, at the meeting, I was informed by Kurt Weeman that, in fact, 2 later adjustments had to be made when we kind of fell below the level of total compliance, so that date has probably now been extended another 2 years. So we'll find out what that is. But every time there's a little hiccup or a glitch, it gets extended. So we thought we would be out of the spider webs, but we're not quite out of there yet. Okay. Media and Communications Committee?
Nope.
Okay.
We'll get there. Maintenance and Construction Committee, Director
So
Randolph.
there was no meeting of the GRF M&C Committee in July. Our next meeting is tomorrow morning. At that meeting, we are scheduled to discuss the ongoing projects in the community, and a PowerPoint presentation is scheduled to be presented to address the community center roof replacement. All residents are invited. Come join us at 9:30 a.m. tomorrow morning, right here in the boardroom. And let me go on to the PAC. We haven't had a PAC meeting in a long time. It's an ad hoc committee. And right now, we're scheduled to meet on August 15th, which is another meeting that I'll get to go to this week, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in the boardroom, again. And then with regard to the Village Energy Task Force, since our last board meeting was on July 9th, At that board meeting, I reported on the items that were discussed at that task force meeting. The date of the next meeting is August 4th at 1:30 p.m. in the boardroom. All residents are invited.
September 4th.
Excuse me, September 4th.
August 4th is gone.
Yeah.
Right. I
sorry about
remember.
that. I'm glad somebody's watching me.
All right, media and communications,
Thank
please.
you. We met on July 15th. We talked a little bit about advertisers on Village Television because that's a source of income. We also had a glitch that was horrible. Scheduled maintenance scrambled the channels, which included the Korean language channels. And so there was a mess of confusion and upset due to that. But Chuck Holland responded. He clarified this was accidental, and they went over all the concerns individually with the members that came to the meeting, and I'm sure they've addressed it by now. Elise Rothrock was introduced as full-time staff, and she participates in the following, which are the marketing and communications. Docent tours, new resident orientations, What's Up in the Village, The Breeze, the Centenarian Project, elections, monthly content with Village Television, gate constructions, EV charging stations. These are all the things that they talk about. Town hall meeting for polling centers, discontinuing the handyman program, discontinuing the Fox channels, pole maintenance closures, and a targeted list of swimmers, meet and greet receptions for board candidates, and PowerPoint presentations. All of those things go along and come along and go along again. Our future agenda items are website upgrades, towers tours, and new resident orientation, which might be instituted, and foreign language translation for critical communications, such as trash disposal and recycling. So they're working on that problem. We will meet again August 19th, that's very soon, at 1:30 here. All welcome to come. It's a very interesting meeting with all kinds of interesting things about cable TV and what they get the tickets from everywhere. They get communications and information from all the committees. Thank you.
All right, next we have Security and Access Committee. Oh, I'm sorry, I keep missing one. Mobility and Vehicles, Director Addy.
Well, you're not missing much, Madam Chair. And thank you for this opportunity to speak. Let's see, on August 7th, the Mobility and Vehicles Committee met, as it does every couple of months, and Mobility and Vehicles deals with resident mobility issues such as buses, and GRF vehicles such as buses, also, cars, trucks, vans, and the new landscaping tub grinder, which will be used to make our own mulch. That's pretty exciting, but I don't think we have received it yet, but it's ready to go. Did we get it yet?
I think that's why we had the mulch party going on.
Oh, that's by the mulch party. That could be. Yeah, I see the connection. This was transportation head Chris Langenauer, who's a great guy. He joined us in December, and he gave ridership statistics and explained that there were some scheduling and timing issues with the new suggested routes from the bus study that was completed a couple of months ago. He said the bugs should be worked out in no later than 2 months from now, so hopefully we'll be seeing the unveiling of the new suggested bus routes. This was a very touching meeting. A lot of our residents, if you look at the statistics, boy, I'm having trouble with that today. If you look at the statistics of overall rides, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of people trips made during the year on our buses and on our planner rides. But the number of actual people that ride, there aren't that many. And that's for a lot of reasons. But what they lack in number, they really lack in community, they really make up for in community participation. We have a lot of very faithful attendees at every one of our M&V meetings. Excuse me, but this time we had some special visitors, and it was, half a dozen visually impaired residents, and they gave very, very moving testimony relating to their successes and some of their problems with Plan a Ride and the fixed-rate buses. And expressing, they have a special involvement with these systems. Every one of them praised the bus drivers' professionalism, kindness, and care. And I've got to reach out to our bus drivers on TV, because all I hear as a director and as a bus rider myself, I constantly hear and see the professionalism, the kindness. Wow, they have to solve a lot of problems on the spot. They're just a fabulous part of our staff. And our customers, especially these, I shouldn't say customers, our residents, especially these visually impaired folks, really, really, really gave them kudos. So our next meeting is October the 2nd in this same boardroom, and the public's always welcome. Thank you very much.
Next, we have Security and Community Access, Director Liberatore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In July, we didn't have a meeting. Our next meeting is August 26th here in the boardroom at 1:30, and all are invited. Thank you, Madam Chair.
The Traffic Hearings, Director Torn.
We met last week for the traffic hearing once a month, and the most frequent violations are no decal, no overnight passing permit. So hopefully every resident, United resident, will remember to apply for, make sure your decal is displayed, apply for it, and make sure your guests have overnight parking permit. Even though they have passed in the community, they still need an overnight parking permit. And the other two are equally frequent. One is expired registration. So everybody needs to make sure your registration is up to date. And also moving violation is speeding between the speed of 11 and 15 miles beyond, above the speed limit. And next one is the stop sign violation. So everybody, please make sure you have decals, overnight parking permit, have the correct DMV registration, and driving with this under the speed limit, usually 25 miles an hour, and stop at full stop at a stop sign. I also attended a traffic school, and as a observer, I didn't violate anything, but as a traffic hearing committee, I would, the task force meeting, I would like to attend it, and it was very eye-freshening, and a lot of information. These are specific for this community, telling you why and all the violations that you shouldn't make. Okay, so if anybody is willing to attend this kind of a traffic hearing, just learn about it, feel free to request, and that will help you a lot. Thank you.
I might add that you don't have to have a violation. If you're just interested in learning, as Director Torn was, you can make a reservation to attend traffic school. The disaster preparedness, Director Akrakar, I know Chief Moy's already given a pretty good report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chief Moy has laid down almost the whole enchilada. And I want to just add a few things that are very important also. On July 19th, I had a TV6 talk on disaster preparedness. I don't know how many people gathered that, but we do need to be very, very aware that, hey, it could have been right here and would have been major problems. Chief Moy and the team has laid down an excellent plan, and it's in place. But the main important fact I can re-stress again, if you don't know who your good neighbor captain is, there isn't one. And then I am requesting you again and again to please join as a good neighbor captain, volunteer. It's very, very important because that is the main link. You can't clap with one hand. Having a plan alone is not good enough. We have to be able to follow through with it. And the good neighbor captain is the main link. Go for more information online for sign-up sheets for Good Neighbor Captain, or call the DPTF office at 949-597-4237, or stop by at the far corner between 10 and 12, and you'll get it. Our next meeting is on September 24th, 9:30 p.m. in the boardroom. And also, I would like to add that there are classes held. The next one coming up is September 16th about basic first aid training. You don't have to attend it, but it's good to know that as well. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we have a couple of items that we've just put on the future agenda. That does not mean they will be on the agenda for next month, but they're things that we are looking at usually in committee or in our closed session that we will eventually bring out to the open session. And that is a committee advisor qualifications, procedure, and policy, and the recognition agreement for lenders. Director's comments. Let's start over here with Manuel.
Thank you, Juanita. I have no comment.
All right. Sue?
I want to give why I would like to leave decrease the assessment for reserve by the 402, which we were $4.02. We would still be in the yellow area. We're not in a jeopardy of having a special assessment. And the reasons I don't support the need to put more money in these funds are, one, the investment of this overage is earning less than 2.5% and costing us increased fees to manage it. I think the residents can put it to better use in their own pockets. And the board's appetite for projects is greater than our staff ability to manage them, so we'll continue to underspend because we don't have the ability to spend. The next fiscal year, we need to concentrate on getting out of the reactive mode and into a proactive mode by improving our efficiency and effectiveness so we can look at more projects and get our staff on projects. Thank you.
Okay. Andre?
First, I'm kind of confused. Another board member mentioned that the water stop, she doesn't want to receive a water stop at 2:30 in the morning. I'm not sure who said that, and I would like her to clarify that. I've been putting a lot of words in my mouth in the past, like 10 cuts a day, 10 cuts every tree. I have no idea where that come from, and making sure that we don't put words in my mouth, in other people's mouths. That's rule number one, being a board director. And also, I received a text from a resident that says, please read the whole resolution because we are at home. We don't have the agenda in front of us, so they can tell what exactly it is. And another thing is about the reserve. We have about, at 30% level, we can have about $14 million. Right now, we have $17 million in the reserve. I understand that we need a reserve, but at this difficulty time, if we can reduce just $1 million of reserve, let's not put all the money in the reserve. If we can put money in the operation side, we can do a lot of work. And if we can give it back to the $1 million to the residents, it will save our assessment, everybody per manor per month, $13.18. That will be sufficient to make everybody happy, and it's not going to jeopardize our reserve. It's still somewhere around the 35%. Thank you very much.
I would like to welcome Dorothy for the VMS board. Thank you. And it's a good meeting, but it went 1 hour too much. So everyone should pay attention to that 3-minute clock. And it doesn't mean that you have to use all the 3 minutes. Thank you.
Director Bastami?
I don't have any comments.
All right. Carl?
I have no comment.
All right. Maggie?
Thanks. I was the one who said I didn't want to be waked up at 2:30 in the morning to tell me my water is off. Thank you very much. I don't care at 2:30 in the morning that my water is off. I'm not using the shower. I'm not watering my plants. I'm not doing my laundry at that time. Sometimes I am up on my computer, but I'm usually not splashing water at that time. And if it's one of the 350 days when I'm actually in bed, then I'd like to remain in bed in peace. So I do not want to be called at that time. Cross me off the call list for early morning calls. As far as reading the resolution, I read the resolution for years. I'm perfectly willing to do those again. The board requested that I not do that because they don't do it in 30 anymore. They just give a synopsis. So that's why I started doing that. It was at the request of the board because it takes a long time to read those things. But you're right, for a person who has nothing in their hand, it makes perfect sense, but I usually try to, in my synopsis, explain what's going on. As far as reserves, when you're new and when you're young, you don't need reserves. When things begin to fall apart, as cars do and people do and maintenance does, then your bills increase and you're so happy that you actually put that money away for this rainy day which is coming. We have all the old projects going and we increase a project or two every year and we increase the magnitude that need to be done sooner. So I am one for let us be very careful, let us be very safe. According to the study, we were 2 years, at the current rate, 2 years from the red zone of needing special assessments. I don't think I want to be billed $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000 extra in any one year, and I don't think most of our residents can handle that either. I'm sorry if it becomes too expensive. This is the way of all things. You can stay here and somehow manage, or you have to do something else. And that's a sad story, but it happens. So I apologize for that, but I go for safety first. Thank you.
Gary?
As far as resolutions are concerned, I'm wondering if we can't have slides made for the TV audience while we're discussing, so then they have a chance of reading it on TV. And then we can be discussing kind of while that is being shown on TV. Secondly, I'm conservative. I think we need reserves. And the very fact that we had several directors who were just pushing for a reserve study to which we spent $50,000 for it, and the reserve study came back stating that our reserves are not high enough, and now we have board members saying that our reserves are too high. I just disagree. Thank you.
Elsie?
All I really had was it's not a question, but kind of a comment. I don't know where the idea is that it's costing us more money to manage our money, because I don't believe there's been an increase, number one, and number two, we're in the process of studying moving to another company that's actually going to decrease the cost of handling our money. So I know it's not a big discussion, but I think our money's okay.
All right. Anthony?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to pass this on for whatever it's worth. My last employment was with a company called Carrick's Enterprises out of Seattle. And we got interested in finding out why so many companies in our business, the maritime business, went out of business. And the results of our study were that we found out that companies were tapping their reserves to make they started tapping their reserves, and then when bad times came along, they collapsed. So right now, there's only 3 national maritime companies left in the United States, so I pass that on for whatever it's worth.
Thank you. I'd like to remind everybody in the audience that on this Friday at 10 a.m., it'll be on television or in the boardroom, we will have our Meet the Candidates candidate forum for our upcoming election. We have 9 candidates this year for 3 seats, so it's really behooves all of you to check it out, see what they look like, listen to them. They will be giving candidate statements. We will be asking questions. We have prepared questions that go to each of the candidates, and then they do a closing statement. And we hope that this will help you become familiar. There are going to be a couple of other opportunities to meet the candidates from various clubs or organizations. Just keep checking the website, the scroll on Channel 6 or the Globe, and I'm sure it will also be in our e-blasts. So take the opportunity to know who's up for election, what they stand for, find out, and then you can vote intelligently. Thank you. And with that, this meeting is recessed.